Let's go to the professor and Adara. Talk some earnings and keep an eye on the VIX. That's right. That was a good look.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as That Midday Show. That is your girl Adara, and I am Sharif. And we're going to wait for all the OGs to, weasel on over from the other chat. They're not weaseling, we're just coming. I'm weaseling. What's up, Darwin? I see you. You're always dancing up a storm in the chat, Darwin. I love your energy. Shout out to Mr. Two Pamps, Darwin. We got Easy Trader. Yo, what's up to you, yo? Mr. Long Shorts, let's go. Absolutely. What a recovery on these markets today. Day Trader Cut joining us as well. Stoil Stocks, love that. Courtney Blake, Naps in the house as well. Oscarito, hey Davis, Mad Marmot, Chucky, whoa, he says Adara. Mr. Jonathan, Robbie V, Fiddleback, the Fawns. We got Laura White, good morning to you as well. Adrian, Tammy B, John H, cheers to you as well, my man. Derek B, we got Ulrich B. We got many different Bs in the house here, Dara. Randall Leger, Buy the Drip. Yes, Buy the Drip's getting a couple of bangs. We got my man Fat Figga, he's in the house as well. We got Zorro, let's flipping go 98. I love that. Brandon Townsend and Just Brad 5. A bunch of other people, everybody in the chat today. Good morning, Adair.
Good morning. How are you doing in this fine Tuesday, Sharif?
We did a little bit of a midday walk in the rain, but that was the umbrella's purpose. Everything is good. Daily routine, check. Market on the highs, check, Adara. Anything you want to cover before we jump in?
Yeah, I'm doing splendidly. Crowdstrike, I did fat finger a cool 1 cent out of the first half of this position. Didn't have my fill right. That's okay, though. I said I'll add if I'm able to add at 229s. We weren't able to add at 229s just, because it's not on the position board. I got in here at 68s. So we are, 228.68. So I'm over $1 in the money here. Please just punch. I want to see what we do with 230s. We rejected it kind of violently. I don't want to give it too many chances here. See what we do with 229s. If we bounce, I'll add. Like I said, I was always interested in adding at 229s. When you get fat fingered, all you have to do is go no finger. You're just one finger. I have 10. So keep going. And as someone who actually has a finger injury, you're kind of used to being like, oh, finger, who needs you? So just keep going. Weird analogy aside, happy with how the trading's been going so far. Let's see what happens here as we get into 230s on CrowdStrike. I also have some levels in coin, but I'm not going to wax poetic about any of their stocks here till we're done waxing poetic about learning. What are you looking at?
I haven't looked at anything, but I'm going to look at my small cap gappers quick here because there's a lot of them today. There's obviously CrowdStrike and TSM on the side, but there are 6 tradable small cap gappers right now. LUMN really catching my attention, 85% in the clear. SGMO, we'll talk more about this, just printed high day. VSEE, look, it's not bad. It's putting in a bit of ascending wedge, but definitely got a flat top there near 4. SERV, how many days is this going to show up? Every day, this one seems to be doing something, and most of the time it's positive. Another 27% in the clear today. TGTX, 21% in the clear, just printed the high at 2150. And you, yes, you, I'm talking to you right back there. No, baby, everyone's thinking I'm talking to them because I'm looking right at the camera. YLU, seriously though, one hell of a chart pattern to the upside. It's not doing the most amount of volume, but that pattern is holding, just printed 24s. And as I mentioned, got CrowdStrike, got Taiwan Semi. Adara's printing up a storm on CrowdStrike there. We'll hear more about that. Taiwan Semi recovers again. This is the world's biggest foundry, guys, and without it, we would be in a lot of trouble for advanced chips. So they're up another 4 3/4 today as they really, get bought up aggressively off that market sell-off. So those are the stocks that I'm looking at. Obviously, we've got the Mag 7 as well, but we'll look at those in a bit. Because right now, though, we're going to start the lesson du jour, and we are talking about earnings all week long. What happened to my earnings? There it is. Okay. We're talking about earnings all week long, guys. Today, we're not really going to talk about specific types of trades, but how to, really comprehend and understand these earnings reports as we started that yesterday. So let's get to it. Earnings season is a roller coaster, especially this last one over here. One moment, a stock is soaring. The next, it's plummeting. Why? It all comes down to earnings. So let's get right to it. So pre-earnings expectations. Before we ever get that actual print at 4 p.m. or 4 or 5 or in the pre-market, we've got pre-earning expectations. So investor sentiment is heavily influenced by pre-earnings expectations, which are primarily shaped by the analyst forecast and the company guidance. Those two have the most amount of influence over what we expect pre-earnings. So let's talk about it. Analyst forecast, what is that? So investment analysts, for example, they provide estimates, of a company's expected earnings per share. We talked about EPS yesterday and how important of a metric that was. They also talk about what to expect for revenue and other financial metrics. We'll get into more of those later. These forecasts are very closely watched by investors, by Wall Street in general, so they have a way of really influencing the activity of a stock. But there's also the company guidance, right? Companies offer forward-looking statements about their expected performance, their expected revenue, earnings guidance, etc. All this information helps set investor expectations. So now we've got the analyst chiming in, and we have the company basically saying, we think this is what we're going to do. And if you're wondering, well, the company can just say whatever it wants. Well, sure, but they got to face the repercussions, because if you mislead investors, you're going to get litany of lawsuits. And I see lawsuits every day on my news blotter coming in against companies. Crowdstrike, chief among them. There's lots of Li Auto's in trouble as well for misleading. So anyway, so the point is, you got to be careful with how you guide. And then there's consensus estimates. I'll get that right. So this essentially is the average of the analyst forecast. This is typically known as the consensus estimate. It serves as a benchmark for comparing to the actual results. And we're going to look at some of these here in a minute. So this is basically the analyst forecast. Anybody who knows fundamentals probably knows about Morningstar Equity. They do very thorough analyst forecasts for some of these stocks. I get them free on my platform. Look, this is one for Apple over here. It's basically projecting what they're looking at getting. I didn't print out the whole thing, but it just makes the bull, the bear case, and justifies why they have a certain price target, why they see it a certain way. Right? So this is kind of generally what an analyst forecast is. It's a lengthy PDF document with graphs, numbers, et cetera, et cetera. Then there's the company guidance, right? And the reason I showed you this is companies typically guide on the earnings release or in the call, but what I brought in this graph for here is because this is positive versus negative pre-announcements. And so this is a nice way to gauge the market. So in the negative, obviously, are negative pre-announcements and then the actual positive pre-announcements. And then you can kind of see the winds of change coming in on this graph, where the positive pre-announcements ahead of or above expectations of analysts are actually now guiding the market, whereas before it was the negative pre-earnings announcements that were guiding the market. So you can always gauge sentiment based upon how companies are guiding, whether it's above forecasts or below. So before you've even seen the actual earnings for a company, you can kind of gauge market sentiment by a graph like this. And last but not least, here is a consensus estimate, right? This again for Apple. And the reason I screenshotted this off my platform is to show you the number of estimates. So there's 25 analysts that IBKR has on their system that are covering Apple. The high estimate for earnings per share is $1.64. The low is $1.44, with obviously the middle ground being about $1.56. Not sure how that maths, but whatever. And that's kind of what the look is there. That's how typically they're shown, and you can kind of like mouse over each particular quarter to see exactly what analysts were expecting versus what actually printed, and then you can kind of mouse over the future quarters to see what the estimates are for that quarter. So very basic stuff. I know it's not technical related, but this behooves us to know this kind of stuff. And so you have to understand the stock price often reflects these expectations in the lead up to earnings. So if expectations are high, for example, the stock price may rise in anticipation of positive results. So sometimes you have pre-earnings movement that we've seen that many times on these stocks, where there is, a positive earnings surprise being kind of felt by the market. So in response to that, people start buying up the stock ahead of the earnings release. And if they miss, you get a monster sell-off. So basically, that's what you got to keep in mind. If expectations are low, the stock might decline ahead of earnings. Let's talk about earnings surprises. These are my favorite anyway. An earnings surprise occurs when a company's actual results deviate from the analyst expectations. So a positive surprise, unsurprisingly, when a market beats analyst estimates typically viewed as favorable by the market, and the stock often rises in response to that. Conversely, a negative surprise, basically this is what happens when you fall short of expectations, and it can lead to a sharp decline in the stock's price. But that's not the only important thing. The magnitude of the surprise is also very influential here. The extent to which a company beats or misses can influence the market's reaction. A larger surprise, unsurprisingly, tends to have a more pronounced effect, while a smaller one obviously has a smaller effect. And revenue surprise as well, it's also important, even though that's only the top line, not the actual take-home profit. EPS usually is more dictative here, but revenue surprises can also impact the stock price. Beating revenue estimates can reinforce positive sentiment, and it also reinforces the idea the company's still growing. So we've all heard this kind of adage before that, you know, growth at all costs sort of thing, that obviously has to do with the interest rate environment, but that's why revenue sometimes has a way of bumping up the stock, even though maybe profitability is not there. So post-earnings price reaction. So after we get the print from earnings, let's talk a little bit about that. So earnings releases often trigger significant volatility in stocks prices. What ends up happening sometimes, if a gap up, will typically be a sharp increase in the stock price at the market opening following the positive earnings, often reflecting obviously here investor enthusiasm, but you can also get gaps down. This is the exact opposite, a sharp decline in the stock's price at the market opening following an earnings, indicating, you know, disappointment here. But there's also after hours trading, and that's when you see Adara, Sean, and Neil on the market recap show, and more importantly during earnings, because we don't just stop at 4 o'clock, and we certainly don't stop for earnings name at 4 o'clock. And they often have, you know, sometimes even more liquidity in the aftermarket than they did all day during regular market hours. So after hours trading, earnings reports are often released after the market closes, sometimes obviously pre-market. Significant price movements can occur during those trading hours, so be alert to that if you don't already know. And there's market sentiment as well, is really influential here. Overall market conditions can influence the post-earnings reaction. For example, a positive market environment where everyone's feeling bullish, happy and giggly may amplify the gains, while negative markets may exacerbate losses, even if the earnings report itself didn't warrant it. So it's important to note that the initial post-earnings reaction is often volatile and can be subject to change as investors digest the information and adjust their positions. And there's also the earnings call. We really need to be very specific. I didn't include a category on it today, but just because earnings come out good doesn't mean that everything is nice and, everything's on the up and up. The call can come in. Sometimes it's later that day in the afternoon. Sometimes it's in the morning. Whatever it is, it can have a way of turning investor sentiment from negative to positive or positive to negative. So the call also very important here. Last but not least, we're going to talk about the role of some, auxiliary or other factors. While earnings are the primary driver, other factors influence the stock's price. Obviously, the first one is economic indicators, like the one that we just got on Friday, non-farm payrolls coming in significantly less than the street was anticipating. So the overall economic conditions can certainly have an impact on investor sentiment and after the stock's the stock's prices. There's also industry trends. Performance of a company's industry can influence investors' expectations and stock prices. We don't expect a utilities company who beats by the same amount as an AI company or a chip company to have the same type of price action. Right now, AI is the main thing. It's the biggest wave, even though, people's talking about the end of the AI trade. The point is, you can't expect a microchip name that has a lot of beta to react in the same way as a utilities company, which doesn't nearly have the same amount of beta. So industry trends also very telling here. Then there's also the competitive landscape. A company's competitive position can affect its earnings and consequently stock price. How many times have we talked about digital ad sales not being even between the companies? We saw YouTube miss on digital ad sales, yet we saw Meta blow it out of the water. Then after Meta reported, Snap reported, and they did crappy. So you can't just anticipate that, digital ad sales, everyone's going to do well. No, the competitive landscape within your own industry is also quite important. Last but not least, unexpected events as well. News, events, geopolitical stuff, the Middle East, Eastern Europe. These can all overshadow the results and impact the stock's price. So we need to be very careful about that. What the hell is this? I think this is, I added that in. I got to delete it later. And that's basically it.
Yeah, thank you so much for going over that,
problem.
Sharif. Or if you're Amazon, you could actually, instead of just having your earnings overshadowed by geopolitical events, you could say that geopolitical events are the reason for your guidance being
there
what
you
it
go.
is, which is something that if you saw the show on Friday, entertained me endlessly, just endlessly. You know what's not entertaining me endlessly right now is this Crowdstrike trade. I want to talk about it. I'm okay with it for now. We're above that 228.50. If we get decisively below VWAP, if we start peaking near 228s, that's where I'm going to have to cut things short. I'm already going to start. I should probably start getting beak waters ready. We're going to get some out here at 229. Let's do 70s. We'll do 74s. And then I'm going to save a piece for the dream above 30s because I do think we can wick into that for sure. I want to talk about this trade, though. I put my exit in the chat when I did get out of this first trade. We know, I don't know if you know, I fat fingered. I got a whole 1 penny, profitable, but 1 penny for the first part of this position. I think I was trying to get a beak order there at just below 230s. I ended up typing for 229 something, and then, or I think it was 229.98. Ended up typing in 228.98. So then I ended up getting filled wherever we were, which I think was 6. I forget exactly what the point is. Did not go according to plan, but it's all good, baby. Ended up taking out just under $1 of profit here for the rest of the position. Now I added it again, and I said this in the chat as well. If I see something spicy around 229s, I'm interested. I was watching the book on the S&P 500 to help guide my entry. I know that's kind of a weird choice because I know Crowdstrike isn't the NASDAQ, but it's also an S&P 500 member, and I found that the way it was moving for me, for whatever reason, at least on the book, was kind of mirroring the SPY, so I'm okay with that. That being said, both the SPY and Crowdstrike getting a little bit, like that, not sure how I feel about it. So going to keep an eye on both. If I have to get out of this Crowdstrike at 50s, I'm okay with that. That 229.50s, I'm all right with that. I just think the support that we had here, especially with that resistance flip-flop around the 228.50s, is so strong. I don't want to ignore it. I like that it's also bouncing off the 90 MA, which happens to be one of my favorite indicators when there is confluence for using it. I will admit I'm a little over-reliant in it, but when you've got stuff like that where it's just sitting perfectly, you got to be okay with that. Also, there's any tickers you're looking at that you're going whatever, phase 2, or I don't know, whatever you guys are doing with these tickers. Get in that chat, !, join space, $, whatever tickers you're fancy. We want to know what you guys are looking at today. Maybe it's Tesla, maybe it's Palantir, maybe it's some other earnings plays, but you guys know that we are brought to you by Real Trading, and so is this segment. Also, AMD. A ticker that yesterday had me literally stand up and then go to Sharif and say, AMD left without me with this face. And he can testify, I said that. Literally this morning, I'm talking to Obi in the morning. I'm like, oh, what tickers are you looking at? He tells me, and he's like, what are you looking at? And I'm like, AMD. I didn't want to revenge trade AMD. I'd like to make that abundantly clear, but I was aware that if you remember yesterday, I had the head and shoulders level in AMD. Did I execute it? Not even a little. You could still see the line I drew here at that 136, which ended up being clear support resistance flips, right? But I wasn't able to give it enough risk because honestly, I'm going to be honest, I didn't get shut down or anything, but I blew a little bit too much risk earlier, taking weird little scalps, right? Take the scalps you really care about. Wait for levels you're passionate about. I got half filled in Crowdstrike, so please just punch there. But just to, again, recap this AMD trade, I saw the lower highs. I saw the VWAP. I said, if we flat bottom break with resistance at VWAP, that's going to be crazy. I watched this we got to that 132 level. I watched for the bounce. I said, if we stay below VWAP on this bounce and we peter off, start building into the position. Didn't get to build as much as I wanted to. Got 2/3 of the position out just above 132s with the intention to add. Couldn't add. We dropped. I got the rest out here. Again, got involved 132.30s. Got out the rest 131.65. So please just punch with that trade. Crowdstrike, I'm really proud of you. If you want to keep going higher, I'll be proud strike of Crowdstrike.
I think you should be proud of yourself.
Thank you. That's
Forget
really
about
kind of you to
Crowdstrike.
say. I appreciate. Yeah, it's just a stock, right? But yeah, no. If you don't believe in yourself, who's going to believe in you? You got to have a bad day. But as Obi always says, where's the next trade? Yeah. Right now, I got 2 names. I have lots of others on watch, and I'm excited to see what unfolds today. What are you looking at?
So I took a quick scalp while you were printing there on CrowdStrike. I took the future long on the TQQQs. And before I show you the trade, let me tell you why I did it. It was a planned trade. We came into that key area of technical resistance from 7:30 a.m. We were retracing. When I came into the office, the futures was on the way up. Then when I came back from the bathroom, we were on the way down. And this is as good as we could do in the pre-pre. So we got up here into 18,003, almost and a half. We come back down right into that area of key technical, previously resistance, now support. It also happened to jive with this area after the bell, this 10 o'clock top that we put in there at 18,225. I got long, and you can see the doji candle there showing you candle of indecision as buyers and sellers were engaged in a tug of war, and I was able to print nicely 20 pennies there on this trade. Happy with it. Let's see what else we can get. But I want to tell you something. I started thinking, this was an area where I could get something off maybe a 10 exponential moving average on a Mag 7 name that's been trending. The one that I specifically was looking at was Meta. It seems like it's the strongest of the bunch right now. It and NVIDIA are, going back and forth to who's more up on the day percentage-wise. And this was a trade I was looking here at META. I was like, okay, this looks interesting. But at the time, the 10 exponential was a little bit lower than that, and we were trading around high 496s. So I said to myself, I'm going to literally have to risk $1.50 here to make sure that this trade ends up, manifesting in the way that I wanted to. I'm not saying I would print on it, but that was like a little bit too much risk for how much I wanted to take, so I didn't take it. But there's others that are doing the same thing right now. You're seeing Meta hold above the 10 exponential. You're not seeing that on the soft one, despite the fact that MSFT is up 2%. You're getting a breakdown now and a move into the 20 exponential. But that's the second time we're getting a touch at the 20 exponential in the last 10 minutes. So I don't know how I feel about this trade here on MSFT. We are holding, though, that 403-ish area, and 403 is a bit of a top here locally. You good?
I'm good.
You're printing up a storm, aren't you? That's why you got excited. I could see from the corner of my eye.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're basically dipping into this area over here on MSFT, so we'll have to see if we hold 403. But this is a nice little retracement of some of these Mag 7 names here as they come down. I got to tell you, though, Tesla is looking awfully ugly multiple times. We're getting higher lows, but we're also getting lower highs, too. Lower highs, higher lows, a bit of a compression pattern, this hockey stick kind of pattern. It was a big move down, though. So if I had to guess, and that's all that it is, we probably resolved downside. But I want to hear about that Crowdstrike trade, Adara.
Thank you. Out of Crowdstrike, I ended up getting out the rest here. Like I said, we got part filled while I was yapping about AMD. Or not part filled, sorry. It was a planned execution. I wanted half out, as I said, around that 229.75s. Got that fill. Then I was watching. I wanted something above 230s. I initially had my order here for 230.25s, thinking the highest we last wicked into was, to me, this pretty obvious area of resistance at 230.50s. So I was like, okay, put my order in for 230.25s, though I did initially fat finger it for 330.25. So maybe, Adara, this could be a day to proofread your orders, perhaps. No, I'm joking. It's just the second fat finger in less than half an hour of trading. Good times there. But let's see what's happening here. Also, though, quickly, we're going to take a moment here to thank our pals at Benzinga Pro, because it is that time of the hour. So let's take a look. Thank you very much to Benzinga, and then I will talk about Crowdstrike. Are you tired of being late to the trade? Are you always playing catch up in the market, missing out on the big moves because you're too slow to the news? Benzinga Pro is your unfair advantage. Get breaking news alerts up to 30 minutes before everyone else, pinpoint exactly why stocks are moving, and join a thriving community of traders who share their strategies in real time. Ready to see how Benzinga Pro can transform your trading? Visit benzinga.com/pro and get a free 14-day trial. And I'll do it for Sharif. I do use Benzinga a lot. He always talks about how much I use Benzinga. I find it really helpful for the watch list. And also, that's through Benzinga that I found about that Piper Sandler upgrade for Crowdstrike and price target decrease. So nice look there. Crowdstrike, as I'm talking, does get above that 230. I ended up getting out, though, around 229.98 because I think exactly there, because I wasn't seeing that hustle I wanted. We had a false break at 230. Like we wicked on the ask side. We got to 230.09, and I guess the ask got slapped down a little bit there. To use an Obiism, we get down to like 229.34s in the bid. I did not like that, Sam. I said, let's get some green eggs and ham in this Crowdstrike. Why am I referencing Dr. Seuss? We'll never know. And I decided to get out here around 230. I'm willing to continue staring at Crowdstrike, but I don't want to force any trades. Please just punch with these trades I did have on it. Someone asked, could we trade GME? I mean, we can, but if there's not seeing anything I like it and I'm not going to, you know what I mean? Let's take a look at Gimme, because I haven't really looked at Gimme. So let's see if Gimme is saying Gimme to me to trade it. Not really. That 21 can kind of do something for me in that it was a bit of a pre-market support level that then became a nice bit of resistance. But the volume on this is a skosh negligible, to shout out my pal Sharif. I don't love this look. Jaspreet Singh mentioning one that I have been looking at, though, SGMO. Not for myself to trade, but I had it in the small cap recap. This is Sangamo. They did have this partnership with regards to a neurodegenerative disease treatment. They are a penny stock, so I don't usually trade small caps. They're up more than 50%. Let me take a look. Nice look, Jaspreet. They are bouncing here. I like the support, honestly. VWAP bounce, sure, nice. I like the support at 96, way better. Bounce, bounce, and once again, bounce. Also, Paula was asking me to look at Amazon. I would love to look at Amazon for you, Paula. Oh, shout out to Paul Server. My favorite Who in Whoville, Adara. Oh, that's sweet. I like that.
That is cute.
That's a little Dr. Seuss shout out.
Ah.
Amazon, you get my first pushback of the day.
Woo.
Okay. Oh boy. Because if I'm looking at Amazon, who am I if I don't say oh boy, right? I'm seeing a little bit of confluence. I wonder who I'm checking out while looking at Amazon there. Bit of resistance and support flip, though, at 162.40. What is it? Yes, 40s. So resistance, swoop to the downside, come back up. Look where we find a little bit more support in confluence with the 90 EMA. With these little wicks, 162.40. So I would say I'd watch what we do at this level. I'd like to see us make a higher high here and eclipse that 163 level. I would also be kind of looking to see what we do at just below that 162, kind of close. We wicked into 162, but I kind of like 168 as well. A little bit of kind of setting up near the open here, those candles. So that's not a bad look for AMZ. And I'm still looking at Crowdstrike, still looking at AMD, and I also keep forgetting to look at Coinbase, but that's on my radar as well. What are you doing over here?
I'm in softy about, well, we're out of the money right now, but I'm trying to hold right now at the 20 exponential. My line in the sand is going to be the 50-cent area, so it's going to have to hold the $0.50. There was a lot of interaction with this level right here. This might not be a good trade. Let me just be honest about it. The future's holding up, but softy has got a bit of a sell at the moment. So if we break this $0.50, that's going to be it, and that's it. So we'll take the hit on softy. All right. Okay, softy. I see how you're doing today. So softy's on the way down. It looks like it's breaking down through the 20. The next level I'm looking at on softy, I might leave it alone. Is 401.5. That's where the volume weighted average price is. So we'll take a 50 penny loser right now on the soft one as we got long 403s, got out 402.5s. It's holding this general area, but I'm not going to jump into it too quick right now. We're zigging and zagging right now on the future in the sense that we now have 3 5-minute candles that kind of look like they're doji candles. They're candles of indecision, excuse me. But what I do like about them is they're bouncing off this key area of technical support that we have from earlier. It was previously resistance. Now it seems to be acting as support. But now we're kind of getting this rounded, maybe kind of candle in the middle, which is higher than the 2 candles to its side. They're both candles of indecision, all 3, I should say, excuse me. So if we get a breakdown below this level, we could absolutely head down here on the future. Now, you're seeing it on some names like Microsoft, but you're not seeing a breakdown, for example, on the Googles. You're not seeing it on the Metas. You're not seeing it on NVIDIA. It's retracing a little bit. So we'll see, but I am very cognizant that we could really retrace down here if we give way at this level on the future. So there's no exact level that I'm looking at, guys, but this is an obvious area top over here. So you want to see what we do. We interacted with it at 7:30. We interacted with it again after the bell from 10 o'clock, essentially all the way till 10:40 once we broke through it. And now we're breaking down below it. Here comes 18.2, right? We're breaking 18.2 and some teens here, mid-teens. Let's see if we get down a little bit more. You can kind of feel like the winds of change were coming. All right, the soft one is at the volume-weighted average price right now as the market comes down, and it may test 18.2. Meta is breaking through the 10 exponential on the basically on the 10 on the 5-minute for the first time on the day. So keep your eye out as the market really starts to come down here, guys, and it's sending everything down. Microsoft lower than the volume weighted average price. Apple coming into that 206 area. It had some price action. Resistance, let's say at 205.75. So yeah, big move down in these here markets. NVIDIA also coming in to the volume weighted average price. The market just breached 18.2. So we just blew through 18.2 like that. We were almost at 18.3. Now we're talking about an 18.2 touch. So big market move down right now, keeping my eye on NVIDIA, keeping my eye on the futures because they're both at VWAP. So I want to see if there's a possible trade to be had on one of them right now. You don't really want to catch a falling knife, or at least I don't, but I want to see exactly if we get a hold up at this level. Oops. On NVDA, here we go. So let's see if we can bounce a little bit off here. Let's see. We'll take a nice little long there. See if we can wet our beak on some profits over here. Let's move up a little bit more. This 104 area. All right, nice 20 pennies in the money. Let's see. Oh, right back down again. So zigging and zagging here. Yeah, this is not going to be the trade for me. I don't want to risk it here. It's going to have to prove to me that it holds up at this 104 area before I jump in. I already took an L on Softy. Don't want to take another L, but let's see if it holds up. If it holds up at the volume weighted average price, I don't have to be first, but I would want to participate. So NVIDIA awfully strong on the day, like Meta. 3.5 for NVIDIA right now. 3 3/4 for Meta, and here we go. It's holding generally that 104. I'm seeing now a move above. Zigging and zagging right now at 18.2, but holding above the volume weighted average price is the NQ September contract. So it looks as if NVIDIA might be holding here, but for how long? We're only printing 14s. It ain't nothing to write home about. We were long 04s. So it's still zigging and zagging at the moment. You could enter here and then put your something a little bit below. It's hard to catch these falling knives. Let's see, right back into single digits we go here on NVDA. What are you looking at, Adara?
I just took a short here in AMD. I'm out of the short. Thank you. I appreciate it. I want to talk about it because this was a bit of a different kind of trade for me, and I definitely had to have confidence. And through this trade, I realized no one can give you confidence. Confidence has to come from within you. Play really slow violin here. Really teeny tiny, like baby violin. No, I'm joking. But I'm really happy with what I did with this trade. I ended up looking at this because I was still looking at Crowdstrike. We were near that level, but I said, Adara, do not ride the Crowdstrike train until the wheels fall off. I've done that before where I've had good trades on names. I've even done this with Crowdstrike recently. And then I give it up because I get way too invested in that trade and that level. It's like, Adara, the bell doesn't ring every day. It just rings twice a day. Pretend that analogy made sense. I'm joking. But then look at AMD. We had that flat bottom break, took advantage of the flat bottom break. I was happy with that. Then look what we see here. We have all these wicks into 132, whole dollar level from which we flat bottom broke, and they're coming into the 90 MA. Now, the thing that made me a bit apprehensive about this short initially were these two bottoming tail candles. But I said, Adara, if anything, these are more dojis. We're already in this downtrend. Take with saw. I actually took like decent size here too. Thank you. At 131.50, and I said, Adara, watch like what we're doing in the book. I ended up getting involved at 131.49s. Kind of got wicked into it because it was really tight. Like we get below 131.50s, come back. So I said, if I can get filled in one of these, I'll be pleased as punch there. I was basically, I was willing to risk into this area just below 132s. So it could be like 131.80. So willing to risk about 30 pennies. I initially also, the plan to exit was going to be on kind of where these wicks were, that 131 mid-teens. But then I said, Adara, once I got in the trade, I noticed that the book was moving at a velocity to the downside. I said, Adara, you have the entries. Now you have to work on getting a little bit more from the exits. You could still scalp. If you have planned scalps, you like scalping. I don't think that's a bad skill to have, but also try to get a little bit more. Try to milk that cow a little bit more. I don't like that analogy. Took out 50 pennies there for the first half of the position at 131s because I said, be patient, Adara. Patience, as Mr. Spool says. Then I watched as we fell lower, and the rest of this was just scalp out when things get dicey. Scalped out just below that 131s when I noticed we were in a bit of trying to get a little bit higher on the book there, and the future is also trying to push a little bit higher. So please just punch. I've also really been happy that I've been able to incorporate trading with the futures as well, with both the AMD and Crowdstrike trades, saying, hey, what are the futures doing? Is the tape movement on the SPY helping what I'm saying? Is the chart movement on the TQs helping what I'm saying? So that's what it was. Yeah, I don't know what that was, but it was just happening. Rascals NKY asking me to please check out PLTR. I would love to. And thank you for saying please. Why not? You know what I mean? Yeah, Palantir, we're okay. So I did like Palantir. I find this one to literally be a bit of a, like we talk about zig and zag. Palantir is literally a zigzag. This is a range if I've ever seen one, but it's not a range I am willing or able to play at this juncture because it's a bit of a long game. look at, like, pun intended, honestly. Like, if you got long here, even though it was a lower high, if you got long at that 25.60s, you were golden. You were in the Palantir, honestly. Now we're coming to this 27, this whole dollar level. I would like to see what we do at 27.20s. We have some obvious areas of rejection here at that 27.40s, but for my money, what I would do is see what we do here at 27.20s. If I see a bit of a weakening here on the book, I would be taking this short, and then I'd be risking into that 40s wick because we do have a pretty clear range here. Generally, though, nice uptrend for Palantir. Some levels on the way up that I saw were 26.40, nice little bounce. Bit of a bounce here as well, 26.60s on the 90 MA. And I also find this resistance to support level at 26.80 flip kind of interesting as well. Kyle Burdett, shout out to the $4.99 super chat. Someone say milk cacao. Shout out to all the dairy farmers from a former one. Let's get down. As someone who also has farmers in their family, shout out to you, Kyle Burdett. Like I said, I spent time on a horse farm when I went to my family reunion. My family in Winnipeg also, like, there were farms back when. So shout out to you, Kyle Burdett. Let's milk that cow. I'm embracing it, Sharif. I'm embracing it now.
Well, he's having a good time at Dara. I mean, he's sitting there. He's collecting all this. What is that? Are those green beans? What is that? Or are those edamames? What are those, Big Spile? It looks like you've got a lot of them. You can send some my way, my man. Shout out to Big Spile Burdett. Absolutely killing it. I want to read out his levels. Big Spile loading the hell out of SPY swing puts between 525 and 527, excuse me. Big shout out to Big Spile there. Always, always doing the absolute most in a great way. All right, here, I want to talk about this NVIDIA trade. We got long 104.19s. I was able to wet my beak at 55s. It's not the biggest trade, but I was very happy I was able to get two pieces. So nice move right now on NVIDIA as it holds VWAP to the dang T. So if you put a stop on the south side, the other side of the volume weighted average price, you did not get stopped out, and this did at least you got at least 70 pennies out of this because the consolidation area top is around 70 or 85 pennies. 85 pennies you got out of that. So shout out to whoever took that. I was able to eke out 30 or 40 pennies out of that, but still we'll keep looking for the next trade. All right. So I kind of briefly went over my small cap gapper list, and I want to kind of like take a little bit more time to do it now because LUMN is a great looker on the day, but it is coming back in now. So this has been the big boy move, 75.5% in the clear. This one is not novel from today. It really started moving there in the aftermarket as a result of earnings. I remember you told me some stuff about this one.
Report tomorrow.
Report tomorrow.
That's it. Before earnings, and that's why I was like,
that's what you
sketchy.
told me. 410, they reported that, and you can see that big boy move. We closed out yesterday, guys, at 258. The high of the aftermarket took us to 410. So obviously we continued with that trend today. 518 HOD finding support right now for the first time, touching the 20 exponential on the 5 at around 4.5. Not a level that I'm going to be getting in on. I'm personally looking for 440. Volume weighted average price touch or a consolidation area top at 4.25, possibly 410 area in and around here. If I miss a trade, I miss a trade. But 20 exponential, you're not going to see me jump into that on a small cap gapper. But great look for LUMN, man. I wish we could weasel our way into this. SERV, here it is again, guys. This one finding a bit of support right now at the volume weighted average price. It's also jiving with that 16.5 top that we put in the earlier trading day and broke that level at around 1020, 1030. We're coming right back into that level right now. We did find some support. However, this is the trend line that I drew, and it was not for no reason. We are getting consecutively lower highs and lower lows, essentially now for the better part of an hour. This candle over here that I'm looking at, printed at 1040, we are 1138 exactly. So no newer highs since that 1040 time slot. However, we are at a critical level, not critical, an important level to be aware of. The volume weighted average price, SERV. Let's see if people step in and buy this. Personally, what I'd be looking for is a first 5-minute candle to make a new high on a closing basis to prove to me, yeah, that there's buyers around that VWAP. Is it foolproof? No. But does it increase my chances the way I trade? Yeah. So looking for a candle to close positive here, and then maybe we can take this bad boy to the high side. TGTX. I talked a little bit about this one, and I mentioned that it was a little light on volume. I still feel that way. So light on volume that it won't show up on the chart. No, here we go. So right now, yeah, right? 21.5 top. It's been zigging and zagging at $21 for the better part of 40 minutes now. And the volume has been dropping off at the same time that it's been doing this kind of dance of indecision. Ooh, I'm going to use that from now on.
Indecision tango.
Yeah, the dance of indecision, the tango. Yeah, we'll figure. We came up with the wick shimmy, Adara.
Well,
we can come up with more. Wow, it's always a team effort on this desk. But point is,
teamwork makes the dream work.
It does. $21, zigging and zagging, TJTX. Not going to touch it unless it really gets going. The one that really is not steering you wrong, if you got in near the 10 exponential on the 5, is this one, YOU. Let me give you the deets on YOU.
YOU?
I don't know. It's not even a small cap gap right here. It's $3.5 billion. That's big. Well, bigger. 2.5 million shares traded on the day. The float is large, 81.2 million shares. So it's going to take some buy-in to get this one going. Let's find out what the short float is. Shout out to Nos Boss and his crew. Okay, now we got something to work with over here. We got a 22.71% short float. Did they already report earnings? It says August 6th. Let me have a look to see if they did. I don't see anything from the but yes, this did report. So how did it do? Well, I'm willing to bet you did well because it's up. So this one did report today. Larger short float, about 22.75% on YOU. You know, keep an eye on this one. Let's do some charting. Let's zoom out a little bit and figure out what the sitch is on YOU. Okay, so we're at a critical resistance level. So this area over here back on December 15th, we basically rejected this area sub 25, around 24.5, 24 2/3. We're there right now. The high of the day is 24.78. So this is an area that we really need to account for because it's a critical area on the daily. Let's see if we can clear it. If we can clear it, we've got some room. We got some room to go. We can get up into that 26 if you're basing it on that area crest over here. Or if you want to go on a big boy earnings day, it looks like this was earnings here. August 2023, the best we've done since that little level, 27.75. So this one can absolutely go. Keep your eye on YOU. Heavily shorted name. It's got good earnings. It's got a hell of a chart pattern. Absolutely holding everything that it puts in its way with respect to the 10 exponential on the 5. Going to keep my eye on this one. And obviously, I've already talked about Crowdstrike and TSM. TSM coming into the 20 exponential, holding 153.5. I should mention that that area likely is the IB high because it printed at 10 o'clock, and that's around 153.5. And right now, Taiwan Semiconductor off that 155.75 is generally holding this 153.5. Taiwan Dang Semi.
Dang conductors.
Up again. I know, right? Dang conductors. I like that.
You said Taiwan Dang Semi. It was like, let's
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out to Brandon Townsend saying calls on friendship in the chat. I guess that might have been a reference to the wig shimmy dance stuff. Yeah, I mean, we have a fun time on this desk.
Absolutely.
That is for sure. Also, Tesla, I was good. I actually said this in my brain today. It was like, Adara, maybe trade less Tesla. Maybe do less. Like, I feel like I've been doing the most with Tesla in not a good way.
Oh.
She always talks about doing the most in a good way. I don't think I've been doing the most with Tesla in a good way. I think, to be clear, that the scalping on levels, that has helped the Tesla trades, but it's like, just because Tesla exists doesn't mean I must trade it. Do you know what I mean? That being said, I like this 196.50 area. I canceled my order for this because though we are bouncing off the 90 MA beautifully, we do have a big topping tail candle and we're below VWAP. If we clear VWAP and we get into that 197.50 level, I actually like 197.50 better. Why do I like 197.50 better? That was a bit of a support resistance level area yesterday. We had 4X AU in the chat talking about that 197.50 area yesterday, I do believe. The other thing with Tesla that makes me a skosh hesitant, I don't know, to go long at this level is I think we could have a flat bottom break in that we have slightly lower highs here and a bit of a flat bottom at 195. I don't want to rush into any Tesla trades because decisions have been made in the past that were maybe not the best. So you learn, you grow.
both.
Tesla VWAP short, says Charlie Taff. I honestly, now I am agreeing with you here. I want to see us try above VWAP, though. I want to see us have either a breakout or a fake out. That's when I would make my decision. Like I said, though, too, my big white whale, my AHAB level on Tesla is going to be 197.50. SGMO broke $1.20 level, says Jazz Preet. Yeah, SMGO, yeah, I mean, this one's strong. Honestly, though, like I said last time, I don't have a ton to say on this chart. It just looks really good. We have a catalyst on this one with that Genentech collaboration for their neurodegenerative disease, some licensing there, clear support at the 96-cent level. Yeah, I not my type of stock, but thank you, Brennan Townsend, saying, I feel a great trade incoming for you soon. I appreciate that. We'll see what happens. You know, you just have to wait for your levels, is what I'm realizing. NVIDIA, I want to talk about, because I actually did a short in NVIDIA that I liked here, and I'm noticing something with NVIDIA, with AMD, and a bit with SOXL as well that I want to talk about. They're all coming into levels of support with lower highs and then kind of flip-flopping, whipple-woppling, chip-chopping, drip-dropping, whatever you want to use, they're doing it. And SOXL and NVIDIA both doing it below the 90 MA, as actually is AMD. I took a small size here, 30 cents on this NVIDIA short. I took a smaller size because I hadn't traded NVIDIA yet today, and the tape was like skosh violent, so I said, Adara, if you're going to do this, small size. But basically, I don't want to say head and shoulders, but it was a clear resistance area from earlier, that 104.50. We got below the 90 MA. I watched it. We kind of got violently into 104.60s. I was willing to get out, and I said, Adara, if we can come back to 104.50 and drop, the futures are supporting you, get involved. So with my back to the futures, or because I face to the futures, I stayed in that short. We dropped here. I watched, saw what we did at 104.15. We bounced a bit, got out at 104.20s. Please, this dang punch. NVIDIA, if you want to bounce out 104.50, I'll hop on that trampoline with you. But yeah, basically AMD, very similar setup. Support of that previous area of that 131, where that was where I had to get out of the short because things got dicey. I think this AMD 131, 131.50 area is interesting. I am not entering a short in AMD. I say that now. If things change, they'll change. But because of these bottoming tail candles and that massive support at 131, in confluence with me watching the book at that level, I am not going short 131. If I take a short of that breakdown, it will be from 131.50. That will be my take on that, and it will get down. But SOXL looking kind of similar as well, near that 29s. Couple different levels. So happy to be here every single day. Thank you guys for the support in the chat. What are you guys looking at, though? If you have anything you want, the OP confidence.
I love how you always do it, and I always forget.
Pardon?
I love how you always do it, and I always forget.
I just like, because I'm always like, I want to know what people are talking about. And I'm like, oh, there's a way to do that. Go in the chat, exclamation point, join space, $, whatever ticker you're interested in. Get in that chat and share your support. You should start rapping, says Usman.
Yeah, I saw that.
I rap for fun sometime. I like, you know, I feel like a lot of, too, my love of puns comes from punchlines and rap. I've always kind of felt that as well, so we'll see.
You know what I'd pay for, Adara?
What do you pay for?
I wouldn't. Well, I could pay for it, but I think that the audience may pay for it, may want to pay for it vis-a-vis likes, not necessarily actual money.
Sense.
I'd like to see a rap battle between the Neil and Adara. Now, I'm not, I'm not trying to force anybody into it or anything like that. What's that, Obi? Epic rap battles. Obi says epic rap battles of history. That I cannot disagree with. Adara loves rap. Neil raps up a storm. We all know that because he used to do Freestyle Fridays. I don't know. I think 2,000 likes could cover something like that, Adara. I don't know. I'm spitballing
down to
here.
rap, guys.
Yeah.
Like.
She's ready to rap, right? So, I mean.
Freestyle off the dome.
Oh, I did off the dome a lot in college, actually.
Obi says freestyle off the dome.
I used to do off the dome at parties in university.
I believe that. I can believe that. Because you're freestyling on here all day long, so that's pretty much that's no different. I took 50 pennies on Apple just like that. It dipped into 206.40s. I got long right as it came into that area because of this obvious area consolidation. We do have an outlying event over here. Punched in at 46s, covered everything in the high 90s. Very happy with this trade, but I'm also very annoyed with this trade because number one, I didn't have enough size. Number two, it's about 50 pennies higher than where I got out. So the range continues to be established here on Apple generally. Again, this is not an exact range. As you can see, zigging and zagging. It's about 207.5 to the top side, maybe 206.5 to the downside. It's obviously very kind of bull flaggish after that V-shaped recovery. Hey, Randy, remember we used to call this the Christmas tree recovery? You coined that term, and we give you credit for it every day, my man. I know this one's an upside down Christmas tree retracement, but you guys get the point. Anyway, Apple in a range. It's about $1 range. I'll play that range until that range is done. So good look there. We're above 18.2, obviously on the future, but yet again, we zig, we zag, we move into 18.3 and we reject. Sure, we spent a little bit of time above 18.3 over here, but you know, these are 5-minute candles, so it was a short-lived event. 25 minutes above 18.3 ain't gonna cut it. However, we make a higher low after the rejection of 18.3. We come into VWAP, which is a higher low, and now we're curling back up again. So let's see if we can weasel our way through. We already know that 18.4 and a third is that high we need to be aware of. I talked about that level on the morning show. That was the level yesterday in the aftermarket. We were moving up big boy yesterday in the aftermarket. I sat down on my desk. I said, look, Sharif, get some charting done. And I just couldn't because I just kept watching the NQ go up about 200 points from the time I sat down to the time I got up. And that's all in the aftermarket. On volume, might I add. And by the way, yesterday on Blue Ocean, you had like the likes of Apple at like 214, 215. It was crazy. There was a whole lot of buying yesterday. I feel like there was other non-North American participants coming in at that level, but who knows? Just a guess on my part. We're above 18.3 here, guys, as the market is curling up. Apple's on the way up. NVIDIA's knock on the door of 105 again. And guess who just printed high a day? He's not the guy next to me. It's the chart in front of me. The Amazon, 163.
You have to clarify.
Yeah, I know, right? 163 a day. We're weaseling our way up after printing 158.5 as the low of day. We definitely took out that pre-market consolidation top. We're at that critical area of resistance that we double topped at here at 11.05, that 163 area. We got to break through that to keep that trend going. Apple just printed a new high a day, 207.88 now, the dead one, looking to go positive possibly. It's going to have to take 209 in order to go positive. We'll see there. By the way, I don't know if you probably did mention this because you're always mentioning all that stuff at the big desk, but China apparently is going to be one of the areas where Tesla is going to have to do another recall.
I did not see that.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
No worries.
Okay.
I apologize. There it is. Tesla to fix 1.7 million vehicles in China, says market regulator there. Obviously, we know that these are typically over-the-air updates, are not actual going to the dealership recalls. But here it is. The recall in Tesla's second largest market involves imported Model S's, X vehicles, and China-made Model 3 and Model Y that could fail to detect when the front trunk lid is unlocked. You don't want that. You don't want the front
trunk lid thing again?
Yeah, I know.
Oh
again, all right. Resulting in potential safety hazards, the State Administration for Market Regulation said in a statement. And this statement is quite telling. Just by this statement, you can tell that they do not make the S and the X in China, but they make the 3 and the Y. Is that correct, Randy? It is. I got the nod from Randy. He knows exactly what's going on over there. S and X, only North America, baby. Model 3, Model Y, they make for the Asian market as well as the European market. So keep your eye out for Tesla. Maybe that's why it's so anemic today, only 0.7 in the negative. But it is, Adara, breaking above the volume-weighted average price again, trying to weasel its way into that 198 area.
Yeah, also trying to weasel its way decisively above 105 and getting me kind of like, what are you doing, sir, is NVIDIA. My whole trying to hold things onto things for longer is being tested by this guy. He comes up to 105.19s, then he's like, oh, do I have to? Gets below 105s. I'm like, NVIDIA, can you make up your mind, sir? I got long 105s. Initial plan was to get long 104. Thank you, appreciate that. Initial plan was to get long 104.50s, didn't get filled. I didn't want to rush into this, so I didn't chase it till it got to that whole dollar level, the 105. Not implying that I chased it at 105, to be clear as well. I kind of worded. I didn't chase. I waited to see what we did at 105. We got above, got a little bit below, held it. I got involved here. I was willing to get out if we got decisively below 104.90s. I'm giving this 10 pennies a risk, okay? Like, it was tight. We held 104.90. Every time we got to 104.90, we bounced like crazy. I said, Adara, hold on to this trade. Don't panic sell. Don't panic sell. I did not panic sell. Took out 20 pennies here, half the position at 20 pennies. My white whale level on this stock is going to be around 50s, not just because it's a 50-cent level, but NVIDIA has actually been kind of spicy at these $1.50 levels today, and B, look at this massive area of resistance. I don't want to be any part of that smoke. So we're going to get out here at 47s, and we're going to try to, get... Show me Shopify, says Randy, in like a very ominous kind of voice. Let's take a look at
Demanding.
Shopify ahead of their earnings tomorrow. Shout out to Randy. Also, Darwin saying Neil and I should rap Rapper's Delight. I love Rapper's Delight, but the Sugar Hill Gang.
Oh,
I know
wow.
pretty much all
Same
of those
with me.
verses, and I could rap any of them. So I told Darwin I'm down.
Hit, hop, it, don't stop, a rocket to the bang, bang. Boogie say up, jump, boogie to beat. Read up, you.
I'm rapping to
I think I'm in a different verse.
I started with the first verse.
Good.
That is also a verse. But
Love
yeah,
it.
that's like, that's that verse where they're like, guess what, America, we love you. And I'm like, cool. But nice support here on Shopify at that 53. And I like also, we close at 53, then we wick into 53. So it's a slightly higher low as well. Nice level, sorry for rapping there.
Why? We're having a good time.
The Sharif and Adara rap jams just waiting to get filled in NVIDIA. But Shopify, that's a yikes. Shout out to Neil, and I don't know if anyone remembers that day that Neil and Obi had that crazy short on Shopify, but that was a cool day. That was the same day there was some kind of earnings that day as well. But that 57 level, nice support. We popped higher, then we get well below as the rest of the market falls. We closed up on the day yesterday, closed up on the day today. I think if Shopify does well, I'd like to see us retest that 57s, because to me that was such an interesting level of support. I would like to see what we do at 57s if Shopify reports earnings. So yeah, shout out to Randy for calling that one out. Uber testing high of day says, or Uber, I'll say Uber in honor of Obi.
He's right here. Yeah, we can.
Uber, Ubol or Uber?
Oh boy.
I know you were Ubol on this earlier today. Neil was also, I believe, Ubol on Uber. But we've got Uber up here. Oh, yeah, I agree, Grov. Nice test of high of day here. I like these higher lows as well for UBER. I think there's also that 6260 area, kind of interesting. I know Obi, I believe, was talking about that 6260 area earlier today. Nice as well. Bounces off this 90 MA around 63. Let's see if Uber can push above high of day. Palantir is still in its weird zigzaggy pattern, so I'm going to let it do its thing 21. Like I said, if we get anything around 2720s, that's when and only when I start getting a little bit interested in Palantiring my way into that Palantir. How are you doing?
I'm looking at Meta. Meta just took 500, guys. Zigging and zagging a little bit here, a little bit below 500. I was actually waiting at 99.10, and I didn't get the print. It came down awfully close, man. It came down into, I believe, low 30s, and now it's just flying above 500. 500, I'm seeing 61 show up on the ask now. Meta is very, very strong today, 5 1/5, 5 1/4 in the clear. I would say, yeah, it's the strongest name on the day. It overtook NVIDIA. NVIDIA is off highs. Meta is at highs. So big boy moves for Meta, big boy moves for Apple. Funny enough, because Apple's possibly going to go green here at 209. And funny enough, people were saying in the chat, Berkshire Hathaway is flying. And I thought that was a little bit funny. So let's have a look at Berk, B-I-R-K. Yeah, it's up 3.72. So I wouldn't say it's flying, but I guess, yeah, maybe that's good for it. I don't know what the typical volatility for that is. But anyway, Meta, man, it's going. Here comes 501 on Meta. Meta is in a full state of pamp right now. 501 incoming, 501 goes. Here comes the fifth of a dollar as we break into 17s. Obviously, Meta being the beast that it is, it's quite spready. Ook. Is that a word? Ook?
I like it.
I don't know. I'm making sounds. I really wanted to get into this, and now I'm definitely not going to change it. Chase it. Let's see if it can continue. It's a sustained move. We topped out a bit here at 18,350. It's a bit of a local area top on the NQ September contract. We did reject it around these levels earlier at 1045. We're right back there now, but we are on a definite, we're higher high than that level. So we'll see if we can continue to hold above this level, this 50-point level acting as an area of local resistance for whatever reason on the NQ September contract. We'll see if that's actually a real level or I'm just kind of seeing things at the moment. Tesla, hello Tesla. Tesla just went green, baby. Here comes 200 on the Cybertruck. We breach that 198.89 that we closed out yesterday, and we're about 60 pennies above it as we weasel into 200. There is price action resistance at 200 from the pre at around 200 and a third to 200 and a half. There's this area trough over here. It's also jiving with the 200 exponential on the 5. So we'll see if that, not like an indicator I typically use, but yeah, that's the look there. On those names, let's flip back to some of the small cap gappers, see what's afoot. Yeah, you is just continuing to go. I set up a dip trade on you. It didn't even come in, obviously. Let's have a look quickly. Where's my U trade? Oh, there it is. Yeah, it didn't even come close. This thing's at 24.75. I had my dip trade set up at 24.05 to defend 24. It didn't even bother coming down. So I don't know. I don't think that's valid anymore. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out exactly what to get into. LUMN held VWAP. So that was a missed trade on my part there. We saw this one when it came into VWAP. Could have had something there. What else is afoot? What are you guys looking at in the news? Darwin says Para News, most attention-seeking ticker. Para News? Is that a joke?
Paramount, we look at them every
Oh,
day.
yes.
And it's
These
Paramount
people
that
again.
Cherry Redstone
Here it is.
gets that stock Greenstone.
Is this new? Sony not planning to make a new offer for Paramount? So why do we have to talk about everybody who's not going to make an offer? Like, what the hell?
I want to say as well, Sony's offer for Paramount, I swear the stock moved every time it came out. It was always the same offer.
Oh my goodness.
It was $26 billion every time.
Wow.
I agree with Darwin that this ticker really wants all of the movie cameras on it.
I like that, yeah. All right, so let's have a look right now at, Apple coming in, rejecting 208.50 as the future catches a bit of an offer here at 18,350. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in this level on Apple if we can defend that area top, see if we can go green on the day. But it's just Meta, man. Meta is absolutely headed to the high side, and it's all the way without me now. Printing high day, 501.25, Adara.
Yeah, I mean, this market has been wild. I did get out of the rest of my NVIDIA. I was like, I said I wanted 50s. I realized I was like, Adara, you might get 50s, but also we had a little bit of a move down into like mid-teens. I just got out there. Looks like NVIDIA is now trying to be like, oh, you said I wasn't going to give you 50s? I mean, I can now. Well, that's great, NVIDIA, but I'm out of the trade. Happy I was in it. I know I was trying to be more patient, but sometimes you see stuff on the book that gives you the heebie-jeebies. The way that NVIDIA was struggling with 105.30s was kind of giving me the heebs, so I got out there around 105.20s. It still is struggling with 105.50s. It's something I'm keeping an eye on, but happy I got out where I did. Definitely wanted to leave there. Shout out to, I believe his name's Randy in the chat, talking about Coinbase, saying, why was Kathy buying Coin? Coin did have earnings last week. They did pretty well in earnings as well, though the overall market sell-off kind of overshadowed that. I actually have levels in Coinbase on the 3-minute, so I'm going to switch to those because Coinbase and this 192 level on the 3-minute was pretty interesting to me. We had a little bit of that support, tried to get above it in the pre. We wick above into 193 right before open. Huadunk. We come back to 192. Then we bounce, keep in mind, off of, it wasn't VWAP then, but it was also that kind of, we bounced a couple times off 189. 189 a couple times being this area of support here for Coinbase. Also, a little bit of chip chop here around that 191 as well. We've bounced that off that a few times, a little bit of rejection before pushing higher. I would like to see, we're actually around 192 now, which is that previous rejection area. To be clear, we've gotten higher than 192, some clear rejection of that 194.50 area. But Coinbase, and again, these levels are on a 3-minute, so we talk about it, levels are going to matter more the wider time frame. That 189, though, still looking pretty good to me on a 5-minute as well. So going to keep an eye on that. Yeah, Randy, she also bought Robinhood, Kathy. She bought some Amazon as well. She went express shopping for that Amazon delivery. So there were a couple different things she purchased there for sure. Jeez. Also want to shout out roaring on 20s in the chat, calling me Slim Trady. I'll take that. I will take that heat. Absolutely. Yeah, Bongzilla pointing out as well, and I think this is a good point. Mostly Miss Woods only has one choice, dollar cost average. That is a fair moment there. If she claps, I'm in, says Paradox. I can't clap because of the mics, but I'll do this. I'll do the Nicole Kidman Oscar clap.
Oh.
I'll do that. Did you see that meme?
No.
Okay, so it's a gif of Nicole Kidman clapping at the Oscars and her hands are like this, and people are like, how do you clap like that?
Why does she do that?
I don't know, but she did it that day at the Oscars, so
I don't know how I feel about that, Adara.
I don't know either. Yeah. But yeah, Coin, Crowd, I like Coin at around 189 if we get back there. That could be spicy. Crowd, still hanging out around this range. Like I said, I'm not rushing into any trades on Crowd. I don't want to undo the goodwill I did in this trade. And to me, I don't think it's a fear that's stopping me. It's just a lack of hard confidence in any of these levels. And like honestly, if we bounce off 229, part of me would be like, oh, Adara, you liked that level earlier. But earlier, we didn't have this massive topping tail candle. You know what I mean? So that is a little bit suspect to me. I think we are running into some resistance at 230. We can get above it, but not anything more than a wick basis on this 5-minute chart. So let's wait and see what we do here on Crowdstrike before we choose to Crowdstrike again. AMD coming into my level, though. I like AMD. We're back above VWAP. I initially went short at that 132.30s because that was an area we rejected from pretty hard. If we bounce here off support around that 132.30s, with VWAP, I might start a small position and build into this. I don't know if we will, but man, do I love the way AMD has tried to reverse this move here. AMD, I'd be a fan, but if there's any tickers you're a fan of, get in that chat, !, join, space, $, whatever ticker you want to look at. Maybe it is AMD, maybe it is AMC, maybe it is OXY, because I just saw Fiddleback put that in the chat.
Fiddleback.
Maybe it's Apple, another Buffett name. Maybe it's Coke, another Buffett name. I don't know why I'm just listing Buffett names. Doesn't matter if it's a Buffett name or whatever ticker you're looking at. Get in that chat and put that ticker into that chat.
Absolutely. All right, got into Apple to defend that $0.50 again, was able to take 20 pennies out a couple of times. So not the best trade, but looking to scalp a little bit here on the dead one as it weasels its way into high day. But I got to tell you, we're seeing a topping tail candle right now. It hasn't closed. It's got another, I don't know, 30 seconds, a minute, something like that. Right now, coming at 350, we've been putting a whole bunch of rejections, generally in that 350 area, 18,350. I don't like the look of this candle right now. So I'm going to be very much on the lookout. Obviously, let's see exactly how we end up going. I mean, look, it's a beautiful bounce off that VWAP area, which 18,120. We move up almost 200 points. The top of this candle goes to 67s. Candle of indecision right now. So I'm unsure how we resolve. Packing my patience. Let's see if we can get something a little bit better in terms of price. I'm also watching 200 on Tesla. So I did load that up because we've been working our way into 200. We just got a bit of a topping tail through 200. It got up into, I think, 16s or 15s. And now we're down into 38s. So 200 for the moment. I'm not saying Tesla's rejecting 200. For the moment, we are... I said I don't want to say rejecting. We're denying. Thank you, Chile Nightmare. We're denying the 200 thing. We're being coy at 200. We're what? Gated. Negating. Oh, wow. Look at that. We're negating the 200 level, says the Chile Nightmare. And I probably have to agree with him because we're putting topping tails on Tesla. We also just put a bit of a topping tail on the Fuge. Oh, baby. Is this headed down? We will find out, though, probably when we do come back, because right now, we got to weasel on over to Neil's lesson of the day.
Welcome to the lesson of the day that we're apparently weaseling on over into. But you know what? Yesterday, we had a question from a viewer, and I was like, let's just handle this by making the user request, the viewer request, the lesson of the day. And we'll start to do this. If you guys have something that's really pressing, that's in the wheelhouse, obviously I have to understand what I'm talking about here. So, don't necessarily ask me about the weather or something like that. But the question was, explain catching the bid, which you might see us refer to or hear us refer to all the time. When looking for a long or maybe covering a short position, want to see if we can catch the bid. I think we all understand what the term catch means. When you want to catch the ball, you want to have soft hands in baseball, guide it in, hands catch, make sure you're curling, getting it that nice little curl around and comfort the ball as it comes in. When a stock is dropping and you're catching the bid, it can be violent because the stock is going down. And how do you express your trade as the market is coming into you and try to get yourself a good fill? I'm going to use a couple of examples here. And I specifically want to use Palantir because this was a stock where I was looking for dip buys at multiple prices, and you can see one that goes through me, and then another one where we get a great and fantastic fill. So this allows me to show you the difference between two elements. Now, obviously, one's at 930. It's a little bit more violent. So first shot, at the open, Palantir's breaking out. I like multiple levels, but at this point, I'm really just thinking about VWAP in here. So as it's making that crest, and it does the initial pullback, bounces off 27 even, which is a pre-market high. At that point, it makes this retrace. Now, I can tell you what I'm looking for here. It makes this retrace 27 into 2740. So my first thought is, okay, you've got this zone from 27, 1% up to 2730 where the resistance is. If it comes back and gives me a retest of 27, I can try to catch the bid at 27, look for the same retracement big, knowing that VWAP is going to be the out. Now, that's 25 cents worth of risk. However, that candle just showed me 30 cents. You can scalp 1-to-1, and if it breaks out, you're getting higher. So it seems like a very wide gap to be catching, but it's because you have 30 cents of upside to first resistance. Actually, it's like 38 cents upside to first resistance and 25 cents worth of risk. To me, that's worth it because I'm not getting anything out here at 10s and 11s and 12s. That's insane. You want to get it back up to the top, and then it breaks out the top, and then hang on to it. So that was an attempt to catch it that ran the stops. The other way to play this, like in this case, we're getting it right at the open. Clearly, things are going to be more volatile. But what I love about catching the bid is when you have a better established bottom. So the next opportunity we get, okay, I'll go to a 15 minutes so you can have some kind of an idea of where this bottom comes from, just so you guys don't think I made up that number, because I never do. So look at the 15-minute chart. If we're not going to hold up here to make the breakout there, then we're looking for about here 12.5. Resistance 2 days ago, support for a week. Pretty simplistic plan at the next level down. So as we're trying to catch the bid, you're going to note it bounces and confirms it. I missed the opportunity to get on the way up. But when I see this retest here of 25.70, with the low down exactly where I wanted at 25.56, I'm just at that point, I'm now bidding. I bid 70 even. I bid some 67s. I bid some 65s. That's a case where it's made the big move down into the big support area, and I'm just sitting on the bid, looking for the higher low. I'm not trying to get it after it catches. I'm sitting on the bid for that higher low now that it's gone to the money level and giving those money fills. So we're able to catch that one off of the bid here because I'm resting orders in that case. I'm not waiting for it to get down there and trying to bid. I'm not seeing where it happens to bounce. That's a defined, hey, we've made the higher low, my bids are going in. If it dips it, we get it. If we don't, maybe I can catch it on the way up. Another example of trying to catch the bid is going to be over here on Uber, where sometimes it's not as nuanced. Similar structure on Palantir. First dip doesn't work. Get to the bigger level in front of 60.5. It does give a couple of fills. Again, makes the bottom, bid out in front of it, catch the bid on the higher low. But then the same thing happens over here at VWAP. This was a little bit more tricky. So if we catch this above 62 and 25, it broke out. It gets to 62.5, which I liked for an entry, but then we see the range widen up. And I turned to Obi, and I remember this moment, when I had the fill at 50 and said the opening range high is 62.80. That is 30 cents. VWAP is almost 60 to 70 cents underneath that. That's a bad price. Key level, bad price. You've got to have a better price. So I take some out up at the top and then wait for that better price at a previous resistance. I know what I'm doing. Previous resistance, 62.24 is the price. I am on the bid right here at 32 out in front of it. Just sitting there for it to dip down, hold VWAP, get myself a better price. That is catching the bid. I know the area where I'm anticipating there's going to be buying out in front of VWAP, sit in front of it, catch the wick buy into the breakout. Same thing happened over here. There's another bottom, 62.40, 62.40. It bounces off that, retraces it. I just jump on the bid in front of 50s. Comes back down, retests it. So it's about finding an established level, getting your orders in, allowing the sell action to pick you up in that little bit of a channel. Now, when you're seeing wicks like this, you can get those filled, but this is not it bouncing and trying to get on the way up. That is knowing where you want to get the entry point, waiting for it to make that break down, and I'm sitting on the bid when it's making that break. Some people might be in this long up here with a stop there. I'm looking to get in that area, anticipating the move to the upside. Now, at all times, I'm going to protect myself with a stop. When we talk about catching the bid, it's the moment at which you've established a low for me, or I know the low that I want, and I am bidding out in front of it. I'm not necessarily waiting for confirmation. To me, the confirmations come by the price level and the price action already, and I've got my limit orders set in there to get picked up in front of that low or in front of that support. And because you continuously see these wicks off the bottom, you know the best fills obviously are going to be underneath. Now, if you want to get in position-wise and you're not scalping and you just want to get in and hold it forever, you're not going to scalp trade, sure. A breakout back through 61 with a 50-cent stop and then just hold for $4 when it goes to 64, that's a reasonable way. But when you're scalping here to VWAP, or you're scalping off VWAP to the high, or then again off VWAP to the high, you want to get that extra 10 or 15 cents better or 20 cents better on your fill. And sometimes that means catching the bid on the way down as other people are stopping out of their longer term longs. So I hope that makes a lot of sense to you guys. Good luck in your trading. This market seems to want to go higher and higher, and I need to catch another bid in Uber.
Get it, Neil. Shout out to Neil Roberts. Everybody, Neil drops hot lines around that noon hour every day. He's dropping Neilage, as we call it, on this desk. Neil Roberts every day, Neil's lesson of the day. Make sure, if you're with us, to catch that. Always giving us real life insight into the life of a day trader and the thoughts and the feelings, obviously, that come with that. So, yeah, shout out to him. So here we go. I tried to take a short on Tesla. I was positive on the first half, negative on the second half. I saw the gnarliest topping tail come into almost 250. Then we tanked right back down. I was like, oh, great. This is, A+ setup. Shows how much I know. No, seriously, we were able to take a little bit out of this, but Tesla right now at that critical 200 level, a little zig, a little zag. I'm going to wait to see how this one resolves. If it wants to take 200, be my guest. If you want to fail 200, couldn't care less. Well, I could because I'm holding a little bit of shares. So, yeah, let's be real about it, right? So anyway, we're going to see how this one resolves, but very interested in Tesla. Separately, the dead one right back into 209. I'm talking about Apple. In case you haven't been with us in some time, for whatever reason, I call Apple the dead one. 209 generally. Say that again, Fabian? Oh, yes, absolutely, sir. I forgot the antenna must be pointing west at all times. Yes. So AAPL on the way to 209. Line in the sand is around 209 and a fifth. That is the level we go green at on Apple. But right now we're having issues with the whole dollar rejecting generally off that 209 high. Date technically is 97s, down into the mid 50s we go. So we'll have to see if we can continue to move up. Look, Apple's moving up about $1 and change above the high of the future. Because look at the future. This 50-point level we've been talking about, we're still zigging and zagging. We're in the 60s right now. Okay, now the future's catching a bid. Here we go into the 70s. We could touch 18.4 very, very soon. We just touched 75s. The future's continuing to catch a bid. We're 2% now on the NQ September contract. Oh, baby. We're up 1.8 on the ES. We're up 1.3 on the Dow, and we're up 1.5 on the Russ. So whatever exchange or whatever kind of market you want, they're all in Greensville at the moment. Even the 10 and the 2-year have joined us. Adara 2 and a third for the 10-year, 3% for the 2-year. By the way, they're uninverted. They're inverted again. So the 10-year is at 3.8 and the 2-year is at 3.9. Briefly yesterday, they uninverted, I think, in the pre-market, but they're back to that same issue of inversion. Adara.
Yeah, interesting stuff there. I'm actually, as we had that move back in the market, I said, is anything at levels I like? AMD was. I've been talking about that potential VWAP bounce here. I took a really small position on this, smaller than the other two, because to me, I think AMD might still run into some issues with this level. I know the kind of resistance we had at this level last time, so small position at 31s. I'd like to see us get above 40s decisively. If not, I'll get out. I'm giving this like very little risk because we get kind of, this AMD book gets violent when you get into 132.20s. If I see a breakdown below 132.20s, there we go, I'm out. Oh, am I not out? There we go. So took a 10-cent hit on this, really small position. Happy I tried it though, and that's I think sometimes what matters as well. If I tried this again, I would maybe take a larger position, or I'd get long 132.20s instead of 132.30s, but still happy I tried it. What I'm really proud of though is this Tesla trade. Thank you. So the first long did not work. Took it with larger size. I liked that 199.50 area. I said, okay, let's take this long. Let's scalp it into 200s. Didn't work. We broke below 40s. I got out. Again, really small risk. Then I get back in. And I want to shout out you for that short, because I think the idea with that short was great when you had that Tesla short from the 200 area. I like that look. But I've been talking about this as well for my scalp purposes. I like to look at Tesla also in the book and on the 1-minute chart. On the 1 minute chart, you could see a lot of support here at Tesla 199.50, which is also part of why I got long in the first place. But then when I go for that second long, we're bouncing off this 90 MA. We had higher lows in the book and on the 1 minute, going from 199.30, 199.40, 199.50, 199.60 as support on the bid. And I say, Adara, you get in. The initial plan for this, I took a medium-sized position. I said, take out 2/3 if we get to 200s, then add and subtract. Once I got in, I was like, hey, Adara, maybe Tesla, what is this, Violet, is not the position to do that with, or not the stock to do that with. I ended up getting 40 cents for 2/3 of the position, just below that 200. Took the rest out with 20 cents in the money, because I was like, Adara, this maybe was not the stock to kind of arrange this around. We got a little bit lower on the book and on the chart. So profitable in the whole position, and it was a larger size. It was a smaller size, but it was a size I was comfortable with. Happy I tried it. Let's see what we do here. And I think it's interesting, too, that Tesla attempted scalp and my brief SPY scalp are my two, losing trades of the day, with the exception of that AMD. So maybe it's sometimes your style changes. Maybe I'm still happy I'm able to scalp. I think it does help you have a read on the book, and it's something I still want to do. But maybe it's you have to switch up your style. Try to take that 526 long, risk 10 pennies. Didn't work out. It's all good. You have to keep working, have to keep progressing. Sorry for the speed, guys. This market just moves so quickly.
Oh, yeah.
I have to catch up to it. I'm still looking at some things. Coinbase coming into 194. AMD hanging out around that VWAP area. NVIDIA sky high. What a day.
No lie.
Sky high, no lie.
JJ has a really good question here, and I want to address it because I feel like a lot of traders, especially the newer ones, are going to kind of go through this thing as well. So shout out to JJ. Thank you for putting this question out there. How do you keep confidence high while making trades and not getting scared off? I think that's a great question. So, I mean, there's so many different answers to that. Are you using your own money? Like when we're at a prop firm, this is somebody else's money. So I'm not scared about losing somebody else's money. What I am scared about is performing poorly, right? And, getting shut down, having consistently losing trades. But once you're able to kind of put all that to the side, I think, you're really able to kind of help your trading a little bit. Personally, I'm just speaking for myself. Most of the times when I'm taking larger trades, it's not while I'm on the show. It's with my own money in my own account. So I can only speak to that. I don't take large trades while I'm on the show for obvious reasons. I have to do the lessons, and it's just not my cup of tea, right? So I can only speak for myself. Adara can speak for herself if she wants to answer this question as well. I mean, you can probably ask the big kahunas as well. I'm sure they'll have more to say about this, Neil and Obi, when they come on. Personally, to me, what really helped was 4 things. Screen time. Let me think about that other one. Yeah, screen time. And yeah, that other one was screen time as well. Just more practice. If you see the patterns, the book, everything that we learn day in and day out happen over and over and over again, you're just going to get to the point where oh, I guess this happens. And then you're going to start thinking of it as a numbers game. It's okay, this is more likely to happen than not in this situation, while this is more likely to happen in that. So the only way to obviously be able to have all that information and be confident in the decision making is practice. So that's all I'm going to say to that. Again, it's not really my modus operandi to take big boy shares on here, but I really like to focus on that more long-term, sustained, where you're able to make decisions over days rather than minutes and seconds. That's just kind of how I operate. Everybody a little bit different.
Yeah, and I think too, if I may speak to that,
I would love for that. I would love for that.
If there's trades you feel really confident in, maybe take more size accordingly, or you know what I mean? And I think that comes with time as well, and I think also practice. But for example, these last 2 AMD trades, I took with a little bit less size than the earlier ones because I still liked this level. We were seeing things in the book that I liked, but I was less sure of them, so I took less size and I risked a little bit less. Took larger size with these 2 shorts because I had, in my opinion, clearer levels. I'd watched it for longer, so I was able to go at it with a bit more gusto, a bit more vigor. I think it really depends on the trade and what kind of setup it is for you. Like AMD, that's the type of setup I love trading. Same with this Crowdstrike. This is one I've been watching for, basically since the outage, this has been on my side chart. So it has levels I like. It's also bouncing off the 90 MA, which is a level I really like, and it gives me more confluence and confidence for the trade. Thank you. So that's why, and then you're even willing to add in because you've been watching it for longer, right? So I would say start slow, and definitely before every trade, think how much am I willing to risk? Does the R&R make sense? And if you have that confidence, if it's seeing stuff you really, really like, I think another thing that helps too is, will I regret not being in this trade? That's huge too. Will I regret not trying it? Because that was what happened with Tesla with that 199.50. I would have regretted not trying that first take at it. Didn't work out. Had it later, and that ended up being successful, right? So it really is about, will you regret not taking it? As Opie says, no regrets. But maybe one way to not have regrets is to try to think, hey, is this something I would be upset if I wasn't a part of and didn't take it? So yeah, thank you for roaring on 20s, hoping that Slim Trady will stick. Honestly, shout out to you for coming up with that nickname. I do really like it, so I'm down to keep it. But yeah, that's my take on what you had to say there. I think that's a really good question.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer there. And if I could also, Adara, read Neil's answer as well. Yes. I know Neil's going to want to answer this if you ask him again on the afternoon show, but it behooves me to read it right now. Have a plan is my answer. The market does it. I want to add my own color. Give up about your feelings. So executing an established plan doesn't give room to care what you feel about it. If no plan, no entry. I love the objectiveness of this. And I want to say one thing that I was telling Brendo the other day. When we were pooping on the market yesterday, I had a bunch of orders that were entered from before. They were not entered as of yesterday. I let all of them trigger, despite the fact that, there were many times yesterday in the pre-market that I wanted to cancel a lot of those orders because I felt, like in the moment, I felt like we were, like everybody else, we were melting down. Then I said to myself, if that 200 level on Apple comes in, if that 300 level on Caterpillar comes in, and I watch it next week, and it's at 340 or whatever Apple's going to be, I'm going to be punching walls, throwing multiple slippers, and doing whatever I need to do to vent out my frustration. So I said to myself, let the orders trigger. That was your plan all along. How'd you think it was going to get to 300 in Caterpillar? What'd you think? It was going to drop pennies at a time and, make a nice smooth landing? It doesn't work that way. So if you like the level and nothing's fundamentally changed in the economy, I know things are different with the interest rates, et cetera, but nothing's fundamentally changed. So I let all the orders trigger, and I think that's being part of your plan. So shout out to that question. Thank you for asking. I think it's a hell of a question there. But we do have a lesson, Adara, so we might as well start that. We are talking, guys, about earnings trades all week long. We started yesterday. We introduced some of the more basic concepts. Obviously, today we're going to get, it's still basic, but a little bit more nuanced. So let's go. Earnings season is a roller coaster, don't I know it? One moment is a stock is soaring, the next is plummeting, but how come? It all comes down to those earnings. So let's get right to it. Investor sentiment, guys, is heavily influenced by pre-earnings expectations, which are primarily shaped, guys, by analyst forecast and the company's guidance. So let's talk a little bit about those. The analyst forecast is essentially, these investment analysts, they provide estimates of a company's expected earnings per share, EPS, we call that. They also guide on revenue, and they talk about the financial metrics. These are the forecasts closely watched, obviously, by investors to see whether or not the company can actually meet these estimates. But that's not the only thing that we kind of gauge pre-earnings. The company issues guidance every time it reports. And sometimes they'll issue updated guidance mid-quarter. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. So companies often provide forward-looking statements, and that's what they are. They're forward-looking statements about their expected performance, including revenue, including earnings guidance. All this information helps set investor expectations. And last but not least, there is a consensus estimates, and that's kind of made of the first point here. It's a combination, or it's not a combination, it's a conglomeration of the first point here to say that the average of the analyst forecast is what's known as a consensus estimate. So if, say, you have 25 major analysts covering a stock, the highest, let's say, is a $300 price target. The lowest is a $150. EPS at the highest, say, is a $1.50. The lowest is 50. You average those bad boys in, and you take the average of that. So that's what we call a consensus estimate. I'll show you exactly what I mean. This one here is the Morningstar Equity Analyst Report. Essentially, this is what an analyst forecast looks like. I didn't print out the entire thing, obviously, but you can definitely sign up with Morningstar if you want, or any other rating agency, and get the full PDF. It covers everything from the bull case, the bear case, contingencies. If A happens, then B. If B happens, then C, etc. This is essentially the positive versus negative pre-announcement. The reason I showed you this is because we talked about company guidance. So sometimes companies will guide lower than what the analysts were looking for. So analysts, in addition to forecasting earnings, they're also forecasting guidance. So if the company guides lighter than what the analysts were looking for, this is a guide down. So the red bars are representing the guide downs, and more S&P companies here were guiding down than were guiding up, because you'll see the green is the guide up. Then all of a sudden, the winds of change came, and we're now guiding up. More companies were saying we're gonna probably do better than what the analysts were predicting for the future quarter. And so this is important because it kind of shows a change in sentiment, and not just sentiment, but an actual change in results. So companies see the economic climate is doing better, let's guide up. So you need to be aware of that. Last but not least here, this is kind of an example of the consensus estimate. Like I mentioned, this is the one on Apple. There's 25 different analysts chiming in on their consensus or their estimates for Apple with respect to EPS, the high end being $1.64, the low end being $1.44, and then you take the average of that, obviously, and call that the consensus. And so that's what we were talking about here. All right? So just make sure, guys, that the stock price often reflects these expectations in the lead up to earnings. So if expectations are high, the stock price may rise in anticipation of positive results. However, if the expectations are low, as kind of predicted by analysts, the stock price might decline in anticipation of earnings. So you always have that pre-earnings zig and zag. Let's talk about earnings surprises, though, because you can do well. Earnings surprise, you can also do poorly. An earnings surprise occurs when a company's actual results deviate from the analyst's expectations. So a positive surprise here, obviously, when a company beats analyst expectations or analyst estimates, it's typically viewed favorably by the market. The stock often rises as a result. Negative surprises are exact opposite. Falling short of expectations can lead to a sharp decline in the stock's price. So make sure you're aware of what the analysts are predicting. But that's not the only thing, beating or missing analyst expectations. The magnitude of the beat or of the miss is also very important here. The extent to which a company beats or misses estimates can influence the market's reaction. A larger surprise tends to have more pronounced impact, obviously, than a smaller surprise. Last but not least, we often talk about EPS because that's your take-home money, how much you're actually making in profit. But revenue surprises can also move these stocks. EPS, again, is the primary focus, but revenue surprises also can impact the stock's price. Beating revenue estimates can reinforce positive sentiment. Who remembers, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, when the running gag was that, you know, Amazon was like the biggest company that never turned a profit, and, you know, Bezos would go on like Letterman and Leno and laugh up a storm about how they never turned a profit.
I can picture him like boldly laughing, like.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like,
He was a different guy back then too. He was a lot more nerdy than he is now. He's not the.
He's not the cool, suave, bald Bezos.
No, he was bald Bezos back then, but he was not cool and suave. Yeah. He's a different guy now. He's got a nice yacht. You see his yacht? Jeez.
Don't be fooled by the yacht that he's got.
Oh,
he's still Bezos from the block.
Right? So that's basically it. And so when we talk about revenue growth, kind of like it's the Amazon story, the company that kept growing revenue that was never profitable. All right, post-earnings reactions also very important too here, guys. Earnings releases often trigger significant volatility in a stock's price. For example, a gap up usually results as, if you beat earnings, so a sharp increase in the stock's price at the market opening following the positive earnings often reflects investor enthusiasm, but just as easily you can get gaps down, obviously everybody's seen this. A sharp decline in the stock's price at the market open following negative earnings indicates investor disappointment, but there's also a lot of potential after-hours trading as a result of earnings. A lot of the bigger earnings names, especially tech and the Mag 7, they're all after the bell. Not everybody's after the bell, but a lot of big names are after the bell. So earnings reports are often released after the market closes. Significant price movements can occur during these after-hours trades. And I got to tell you something. Sometimes we see more volume take place for an earnings name after the bell than did the entire day during the regular market hours. So just be ready for that and make sure that you have after-market and pre-market trading permissions. I got to give you an example. I'm going to shout you out, TD, because you suck. TD's platform, at least when I was trading Adara, it never let you punch in anything short, long before 8:30 a.m. You couldn't trade the pre if you were Toronto Dominion. That's one of the reasons I switched. So make sure you've got those. You've got the broker that's going to let you trade aftermarket and pre-market. Last but not least, market sentiment. Overall market conditions can absolutely influence the post-earnings reaction. A positive market environment may amplify the gains, no question, while a negative market may exacerbate losses. And it's important, guys, to note that the initial post-earnings reaction is often volatile and can be subject to change as investors digest that information and adjust their positions. And it should also make the point here that after you get the earnings release, it's typically released in news form rather than, by some company announcement. It comes vis-a-vis the earnings blotter or your news blotter. But that's not the end of the story. There's an earnings call that comes after that, typically a few hours later, sometimes the next day. That can also have the effect of moving markets aggressively. So make sure you're aware of the earnings call, whatever they call it. Conference call, earnings call. And last but not least, guys, the role of other factors. While earnings are the primary driver, other factors can certainly influence the prices or the stock price reactions. The economic indicators, for example, overall economic conditions can impact investor sentiment and affect the stock's price. There's also industry trends. Performance of a company's industry can influence investor expectations and a stock price. And there's a competitive landscape. A company's competitive position can affect its earnings and consequently its stock price. And these obviously unexpected events, news or events unrelated to earnings can overshadow the results and impact also a stock's price. And I just want to talk a little bit about this here. Industry trends. You can't expect an AI-related name like a microchip name to have the same type of price action, even though it beats the same amount as a utilities company. So let's say the utilities company beat by 50 cents on EPS, did better from $1 to $1.50 versus what analysts were looking for. And the same thing was achieved by the microchip AI-related company. The AI-related company is going to move more than a utility company, most likely, okay? So you have to understand the industry trends. AI is hot right now. Utilities, they're counter-cyclicals. The competitive landscape as well, very important here. I made this point first time around, I'm going to make it again. Just because Meta printed up a storm for their digital advertising doesn't mean that Snapchat's going to print, doesn't mean that Pinterest is going to print. So you need to understand.
Pinterest.
Woo, I like that. Pinterest printing up a storm. So you need to understand where that company fits within the overall competitive landscape in that industry. Can't expect the same type of reactions from the chief as you do, a lowly foot soldier.
The lieutenant.
The lieutenant.
I don't know. Weird analogy. Yeah, so, sorry, my brain lay. But yeah, I want to shout out also what Sharif had to say. One thing I will add here is commentary before I get into this Tesla trade is actually related to Tesla. One example of earnings calls and commentary from CEOs like really moving stocks post-earnings has to be Tesla with regards to what Elon Musk says and does during those calls. Like we had that call for Q3 2020. Anyways, it was a quarter. It was October 18th, 2023. That was my first Tesla earnings call. And that thing sunk like a stone, a lot because of Elon Musk's kind of interesting behavior there during that earnings call. Then we had their most recent call, which is going to be not the most recent, the one before that, Q1 2024, where we had Elon Musk saying like, hey, you know what, we're actually going to have that pipeline there faster than expected for the Model 2, the cheaper model, right? So sometimes those earnings call behaviors can really move the market. And one example is certainly Elon and Tesla. Speaking of Tesla, I did not scalp this enough. I'm a little Tesla pointed to myself because I had that 200. To be clear, I'm happy I took it because one thing that I've said, and that's part of why I hit my P&L, is I don't want to avoid trades just because I want to lose money. I've had some trades that went well today that I'm really proud of, but if I I said I'm trying to be more apprehensive with Tesla, but if I have a level I like on Tesla, I owe it to myself to try it. I loved that Tesla 200 area. We bounced off 200 $6.20 really well in the book. Should have scalped it out when I realized it wasn't getting above 40s. Didn't. We broke below 200s. I got out. I managed it accordingly. To be clear, happy with what I did there. But sometimes, you know, it doesn't work out, and I should have trusted my scalping a skosh better on this. One scalp I'm really proud of, though, is this SPY scalp. I was talking about this in the chat. SPY was in this odd little range between it's broken it now, but 525.80 top of the bottom of the range to 526.30 at the top of the range. I want to check this on the 1 minute because yeah, you can definitely see it in the 1 minute here. I got long at that area. Wow, if I check the 1 minute, it's even more confluence. Look at this. We had some rejection there. Support. Took the long. I was willing to see what we did here. I was actually like, hey, if we get like 525.50s, 526.50s, I would have been pleased as punch. We couldn't get above 526.60s, sold off, bounced off 526 instead of there. If we get back to 526.30, sorry, I meant 30s, get out there. Took like what, like just under 30 pennies, just under 50 pennies on this trade. Happy with what I did with this SPY. And I honestly think if we now use that 525.80 from support to resistance, I'll take shorts from 525.80. I have no qualms. And also with regards to, you know, I'm talking about looking at different time frames here, this SPY, that was one thing that really helped me with Palantir. Because Palantir, I said I liked that 27.20 rejection. I thought it could have been a potential range. Talked a little bit about this earlier. It was a level I liked. We broke below it on the 5 minute, and I'll show you what I saw here. I saw we were here in the 5 minute. I said, oh, we're below the 90 MA. And then I was like, well, Adara, it's an earnings name. Check the wider time frame before you get involved. On the wider time frame, it looked like support, so I got it, so I didn't get involved. Happy I did. That's, I think, one example of how you can feel more confident as well. To go back to that question that was being asked in the chat, extra confidence, extra confluence, extra confidence, and making sure you really take your time to make sure you have all your ducks in a row. Check the different time frames. Check if there's level of support and resistance you're not aware of. And also, if you're looking at earnings, you definitely want to check out stonks.com. If you want a chance to win $1,000 every day, stonks.com is actually doing that. It's giving out $1,000 every day, and entering is super easy. You just have to predict the stock price after the earnings report. Today, we're looking at Airbnb. All it takes is 30 seconds to join. Just go to stonks.com. Sign up and hit the make prediction button, and you could potentially win $1,000. It's that simple. Each day you get one free ticket to predict. Want more chances? Share your referral link and get 5 extra tickets for each sign up. Go to stonks.com. Don't miss out, and best of luck. So shout out to the stonks.com, and also, yeah, shout out to multi-time frame confirmation. Yeah, honestly, right? I gotta always shout out multi-time frame confirmation. I gotta agree with that 100%. All right, looking at Meta. Meta just touched the 20 exponential on the 5 for the first time on the day since this over here, this candle over here at 11:30. So that was about an hour and 10 minutes ago, and I was very interested. Oops, sorry about that. On this level on Meta, it was quick to bounce off though. It was in the 97s not that long ago. Now it's in the dang 99s. So Meta on the way up, looking to weasel its way above 500 again. It's still putting in lower highs. So if you're looking for the continuation, you may not get it. What you did get though was the 20 exponential bounce. Now what I want to see is maybe possibly something of a higher high right now, because Meta's been stuck south of this 500 for a little bit of time. There's also Apple 209, very interesting. Multiple topping tails into 209 on AAPL. Technically, the high of the day is not even 209. 208.99. We've been talking about this 209 level because of yesterday's closing print at 209.25. So yeah, sure, the quarter dollar is the closing print, but the whole dollar is going to attract some attention, and those front running it are going to be interested in getting short at 209. And so far, that thesis has proved true because multiple topping tails into 209. Holding the 10 exponential right now on the 5 with a bit of a doge. So we'll see if we get another possible attempt at that 208 and change, 209, high 208s, obviously. AAPL, zigging and zagging here. And I should mention that NVIDIA is awfully close to its high of day. So that was one hell of a VWAP dip bounce at around 104. You're printing 2 and change right now if you held that. Beautiful move back up for NVIDIA as it and Meta fight back and forth as to who's higher up on the day. Right now, NVIDIA's winning, baby. 5 2/3. Meta back down into 5. But, you know, they've been taking turns right now. But who's higher up on the day? Both great recoveries off the lows. Today, you know, it was one of those days where you weren't sure
if that buying that came in yesterday was going to be continued. Especially, I wasn't sure. I'm just speaking for myself because we got to 18.4 yesterday in the aftermarket. Then when I came in this morning, we were around 18. So we gave up about almost 400 points overnight. So I was a little unsure. All right, so let's see here if this future continues to move up. This is a great look here right now on Softies, kind of the same look that we saw on Meta not that long ago. So Softy coming in here as Meta continues. Oh man, I missed that trade on Meta. I suck. But let's see if we can get the one on Soft at around 404. Multiple bottoming tail candles over here. I'm going to have to give this one a little bit of room of dare.
I like that you're calling it soft. It's not Microsoft. It's soft now. Mets, Tess.
Right?
What else could we do?
I don't know.
Goog. I don't know.
Yeah, Obi already does Goog.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, he has Goog and Google and Uber as well. Uber. I was actually looking. I don't know why I said it like that. Ooh dear, Uber. Oh, what? Oh boy is what I should
Oh boy.
now. Oh boy, Uber. Let's take a look at this Uber over here. This is a really interesting one. We're up 10% here on the day. Shout out to I believe both Neil and Obi had longs on this. I love this 9 EMA area. I was kind of interested if it actually rejected this. I was kind of interested in a short, but we're holding this really well. Struggling here around the 64.20 area, a bit of a struggle, but nice little look here for UBER. Another recent earnings name that's continuing to just grind higher is Palantir. We didn't have that 27.20 rejection I wanted, so I'm not getting involved. Coinbase also being very persnickety. I was like, Coinbase, I liked you at 189. And 194. Those are my two levels I liked in Coinbase. The 189 is just like wild resistance on multi-time frame. Sorry, support on multi-time frames. Bit of a support to resistance flip. Great look. Oh, Coinbase. Sorry, I don't know what that sound was. We're coming. I apologize. We're coming into this 194 with these higher. Oh, wow. Okay, if Coinbase breaks out at 194, that'd be wild because we do have these higher lows here. Nice little hold of this 9 EMA just below 193s. My only thing is I wouldn't want to get in here. You'd have to risk a little bit. There is a bit of a spread in coin as well, but I think there could be some coin to be made from going long off that 9 EMA. I think it's a nice look. I have eyes on it. I should have been having better eyes on it, clearly. But Tesla's still struggling with 200 as well, so that's what I'm looking at too. Not trying to rush into every Tesla scalp known to man, just some that make sense. Because let's be honest, maybe someone was a bit rushy into the Tesla scalps at other points in life. I don't know who I could be talking about with me. But SPY also on the top of that previous range, that 526, 26, 25. I want to keep eyes on my SPY. That is for sure as well. There was something else that was, Intel setting up for shorts as the Piper. I think there were some other comments here from Intel earlier as well. Also, we saw something from the Piper that I wanted to talk about as well earlier when we were talking about different, screen time and other ways to learn Intel for this market. And I think one thing too, with regards to screen time that I think is key is you can always analyze your own trades, right? Like I find since I started journaling or just thinking about stocks at all hours, you kind of notice patterns, what works, what makes sense, and what doesn't. And then I think once you even kind of analyze it yourself, that can be really key because sometimes you don't notice you're doing a thing unless you really hold yourself account for it. Like, hey, why did I do this? What am I doing a lot of? When you take those screenshots of the chart, when you do that journaling, I find it really does sink in. I have my tickers to look at document as well, where I write little quotes to myself and just think of, like what random song is in my head that could have a weird role in how I trade, because I've talked about that before as well. Different ways to make the market make sense to you. I've talked about my jazz piano analogy, right? So I think whatever way that you can make the markets easier for yourself through your own analysis, I don't think that's a bad thing either. That's going to be my little talk.
Agree.
Yeah, Forex AU, I was just going to say, I don't necessarily agree that Intel's a short here. I was just reading a comment in the chat to that effect. I think we have massive support at 1977, not the year, but the price. We have the lower highs. We looked like we were poised for a flat bottom break, but this wick here, this support is great. If we reject off 20s, maybe, but even then, I think it looks like we're trying to grind higher here for INTC. I would like to see us push above into this 20s. If we bounce here off 1992, again, not the year, it would just the stock price, that could be maybe interesting for me, but let's keep a look. I promise I'm not shorting Intel here, Forex AU. I appreciate the due diligence there. I am just taking a look-see. That being said, that flat bottom break setup was gorgeous earlier, but sometimes things don't set up how you think they will. You got to keep going, keep pushing, keep looking for opportunities to take these trades.
All right, we did well here on the soft one. Took 60 pennies, super quick, right like that. Look, the reason I got into this is because we were doing the wick shimmy with the 20. So we got into the 20 exponential. Last time around, it was a VWAP. So I was like, okay, great. We're at the 20. We've shown our proclivity to kind of respect the 20 at times. Let me wait and see what we get. And then all the closing prints at or above the 20, to me, that signaled that we're buyers, that we're interested in that 20 exponential on the 5. And as a result, basically manifested all these bottoming tail candles over here. Got long 403.96. Wet my beak there at 50. So I was very pleased with this trade. We're still weaseling in, though, into that 405 area. We've had a lot of trouble with 405. So yes, I know that the closing or the wick takes us into 405.58, but have a look, have a gander at this the closing prints over here. They're all at or south of 405. So 405 right now, an important level for me on MSFT. We'll have to see if we can take it on a closing basis. Good look there for Softy. Some of these stocks are awakening. Now, we know 209 is a bit of a top right now on the dead one Apple, but that doesn't mean Google is not coming into high a day. NVIDIA just printed high a day. Who else? Yeah, oh, that's it. Okay, well, that's all right, Adair. A little anticlimactic there. But
couple highs a day.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, a couple highs a day. I thought there were more. I don't know why I thought there
I like
were
the
more.
enthusiasm.
Yeah, I know. But I shafted myself a little bit over there. But anyway, NVIDIA is on the way up, guys. Here we go, 106.56. This has been a beautiful pattern at the VWAP hold initially there at around 11:30 midday. Thereabouts. We break now that 106 and a third top that we had initially. Now we're doing the dance with 56s. Let's see if NVIDIA can continue heading to the high side. Same thing with the future, because I'm still waiting for that 18.4 possibly to come in. But I got to tell you, the Mag 7, strong as they are at the moment, let's look to see if anything else is making moves. And we have a lot of these small cap gappers that were in play, and a lot of them still are in play. So really good look today with these small cap gappers. Okay, so oh man, I missed the trade on you. I missed you. Yeah. Well, I know, it's okay. It's fine. You don't have to be sorry. But yeah, YOU, let me just show you real quick what I was thinking here. This was a VWAP trade. There was just really nothing about this that made it complicated. It was a lot of respect with the 10 exponential. Then we get a healthy retracement. It doesn't stop at the 20. So the next area I'm looking, volume weighted average price, 23, high 23s, let's say 23.75, and there you go. You get a beautiful hold, and now we're 24 and a fifth, so about 50 pennies higher already. YOU, this is not done though, guys. I mean, YOU's up 25%, and it can continue to go. This is a VWAP dip. So, and, oh, look at this. So not only is it VWAP, but it's prior area resistance hold. So former resistance, now support, that 23.80, 23.75, double top there at 950, 955. We come back, we hold it. Great trade. I missed it. I suck. I should have had a resting order on that one, because that one, I could have managed risk with it with a resting order and a quick stop there. This is shown. It's quite liquid. It's not bad. Kind of talked badly about it earlier with respect to liquidity, but you can see the volume bars there. Every volume bar here is doing about 150,000 to 100,000 shares on the 5 minutes. So that'll cut it for me. TGTX also continuing to move up here. Nothing, not killing this one. It's changed a little bit in its ascent. And you can kind of tell that the price action is tightening up without even looking at the price, just by looking at how close the 10 and the 20 are together. So, when the price action really gets, not parabolic, but is directional, the space between the 10 and the 20 opens up. Right now, getting super narrow. Doesn't mean that it's not tradable. Looks good here. Possibly $21 defend on. TGTX, SERV. Are you there, Scott H? Where are you at, my man? Like, there's a day that goes by where Scott hasn't tagged me to tell me SERV is going. Scott, this is your stock, my man. It's $1 off, well, almost $1 off the bottom there. Zigged and zagged with the 50 exponential. That 1640, 1650. Previous area top that we had in the morning around that level, that holds. It doesn't really respect VWAP, which is at 1660. It was more of a price action defend. And then boom, we go. We take 17. We're on the way to 17 and a fifth. Keep your eye out for that 17 and 4/5. That is HOD on SERV. Good look there. Let's flip back to some of the large caps, see what's afoot. Okay.
We have an auction too. I just remembered at 1 p.m. We have the 3-note.
Thank you. It's a 3-year note, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, good call on that. Totally forgot about that. So we're about 8 minutes away from that, guys. Keep your eye out on that. Uh-oh. The dead one just pushed a new high day, but then retraced super quick. 209.44 HOD. It's printing $0.25 right now. It's in Greensville, albeit very small. It's printed a new high. Let's see how the dead one, Apple, retraces here. What a V-shaped retracement on AAPL. Still negative, though. Uncle Warren is selling up a storm on this one over the weekend. We find out that. By the way, we're still above the pre-market low from yesterday. However, we're lower than the actual market low from yesterday, so that's not a good look. Lower highs, lower lows in the actual regular market hours for AAPL. It's printing high day, possibly 210 incoming, Adara.
A nice pop up here in these here markets. I was briefly short Tesla. I want to talk about this because I'm proud of the management of this. I got short 200s. I checked all the charts. All the charts looked like a long, but on the book, I was like, I don't know. We're really, to use a Sharifism, anemic. And we were still rejecting quite a few times the $200.20 level. That was a level I was using as support resistance earlier that certainly I thought was effective. So I said, get short there at 200s. We kind of got there. We whiffled, we waffled. We just kept waffling slightly above 200s. I was risking into 20s, right? $200.20. So we got there. I was like, you know what, Derek, just get out $200.12. I lost 13 pennies on this. I just didn't like what I was seeing. Happy I did, too, because I get out. Then we waffle a little bit more around 200. I'm almost about to go long if we break above 220s. And then we pop up here in TSLA. Great look. Also, shout out to AMD, which was, as I was saying, a bit of a laggard. I wanted to get back involved when we, tried that third. I tried 2 VWAP longs here. I was about to try a third, and then I was like, Atara, it's just been so weak. What's the point in trying again? Why am I British? I don't know. But then AMD's like, yeah, actually, I will give you the VWAP long now. So if you got that VWAP long, you're more than $1 in the money. Shout out to you. It makes sense for me to try it again for my purposes, but
market's pumping.
That's the point. You have to figure out what works here. Definitely, pumping across the board is what I'm trying to say here. Like this, AMD wild, TQs wild, SPY, spiled. It is wild over here. That's for sure. Wild little look here. SPY 530 still first target, says Kenny D. I mean, we've got we're just about 2 points away from that, or $2 away from that. Also, why is the market pumping here? Why the sudden pump, says James Choi. Not taking any news here, but just so you guys know, we do have that auction, right, coming at 1 p.m. So that's something to keep an eye on. Sometimes we don't get an auction reaction or a reauction, as I like to call it. I've called it that before.
I haven't noticed. That's actually pretty good.
I feel like every time I do it, you make like a little face, and I really like it.
I have a very bad short-term memory, very good long-term memory.
I know you have a good long-term.
Yeah, but very bad short-term. And I've repeated stuff to you that I've said to you before, and you're kind enough to be like, oh, really? I've heard that before, but I'm not going to say it to you in your face.
But yeah, so shout out. We'll find out what that reauction is doing. Kava, high of day, says Virgo. I haven't looked at Kava in quite a long time, so let's see how things are going in the Mediterranean over here. Also, I want to look at CMG after that because we had some mentions of CMG in the chat, and let's see what the chip Oatley is doing over there. Chipotle, chip chop, I don't know. Made more sense in my head. Kava, a bit of a spread here, not a lot of volume. We're actually below 1 million shares in the day, but a bit of a volume spike. They're not a bad look. Higher highs, higher lows. Nice bounce here, a bit of a level at 82.40s. Let's take a look now at CMG. Tsung. You guys, I was trading this a lot of earnings. CMG was pretty fun for those purposes, for sure. Giving you some guacamole. Oh, CMG. Oh, wow. Why I made that face is look at that resistance we have turned to support at 54.50. This is trading too tightly for me to have a read on this, but man, is it fascinating when support and resistance holds and flips like this. I don't have any levels in anything right now. All my levels have kind of been blown out of the water, with the exception of maybe Crowdstrike if we retest 230. But like I said, I don't want to keep striking that crowd if it doesn't make sense to do so. I'm not getting involved in, I would scalp heading into the reauction, and I actually might eye a SPY scalp for the reauction, but I'm not getting involved in a Crowdstrike.
You might have mass casualties there. Man.
Oh, yeah, I might if I go Crowdstrike in there during a reauction.
Well, I mean, if you strike a crowd, you're likely to hit more than one person.
Yeah, that's true. It gets a little like sniper. It gets a little chung-chung over here.
Love it.
3 people's a crowd, says Fabian. Yeah, I guess
there you go. Yeah.
3's a crowd. That's true, like the saying. Well, that was good.
There you go. Fabian's out. Oh, I didn't get to hear Fabian.
Shout out to Fabian there. Also,
I gotta
we
plug
will
in my...
repeat that lesson soon. Yeah. We're going to wait till after the 1 p.m. auction and that reauction. But right now, eyes on Crowdstrike. Tesla trying to grind higher here as well. And I will if I take anything with that reauction, it would be a scalp likely of the SPY.
I just want to mention Intel, guys. Intel is at break even right now, so critical level to see if we can go back positive. The break even point on INTC is either 2010 or 2011. Can't really tell from this particular angle. We're above it right now, so INTC, nice recovery. And that was a great bottom there on Intel, guys. By the way, that 19 3/4 on the 5-minute, it looks like a triple bottom. We tested, initially at half after 11. We tested again 10 past 12, and then yet another test here at 12:35, all of which led to a VWAP break and a higher high breaking through $20 as well. So you take the $10 level, you take VWAP, and right now you're doing the dance with no underwear or pants at this break-even point yesterday, which is the closing print. So let's see if Intel can continue to move up here. God knows the entire futures right now. We're at 18,445 HOD on the NQ September contract. We've breached 107 now on NVIDIA. We're really moving here, guys. Tesla is right back into the high a day. The dead one is knocking on the door of 210, 209.99. The Zon goes on, go. 163.69er. And then we got 502 and change HOD on Meta. Microsoft still dilly-dallying here at 405 2/3, and Goggles just touched 160 again. So it takes out that flat top that it was putting in at 159.5, 159 2/3. But Goggles coming in to that pre-market area top. We were ranging essentially with 160 as a top from 7:40 a.m. till we gave way there about 9:25. Keep your eye on 160 right now. Topping tail right now on Goggles as it rejects 160 for the moment. Let's see. It's intra-candle action right now. We'll see if this 160 gives way, but lots of strength coming into the market right now, especially on the Mag 7. Let's see if it can be sustained. We're coming into some interesting levels here, at least on Apple and maybe, what else over here? Yeah, and on Google. Everything else is kind of, I wouldn't say these are areas of critical resistance or anything like that. So, yeah, that's the look. Intel still positive $20.14 above the closing print from yesterday. Softy's putting in a gnarly retracement. Look at it. What is happening here on Softy? Just dropped $1. Okay, so some resistance, I guess, 405 2/3 to be expected here on the soft one, 2.5 in the clear. Am I seeing it on some others? Well, you're getting some pullback on others, but not with the degree of aggression that Softy's pulling back. In fact, Meta just printed another high a day, so it seems as if it's isolated to Softy right now. Let's see if Softy can find a bid. Where do we find some support? We know where the resistance is. You don't have to be a chartered market technician to see the double top at 405.60. We touched it earlier at 1220. We're touching it right now, and we're rejecting off it. So critical not critical, but local resistance at 405.60. Now, where is the support? So, well, right over here, maybe 405.50. Yeah, you can tell I'm really indecisive at that point. Yeah. Let's see exactly what we get. And the reason I'm unsure about where support is, we have so many zigzags over here. Which area seems to be or seems to have more interaction, more price action support? We're getting a big retracement right now on Softy. But we'll see if that can be sustained or not. I want to let you guys know that the OB is filling in for the Katina Man today because the Katina Man's enjoying himself out in London. And so it's going to be OB and Neil on the afternoon rundown. And if you want to know how to get your stocks analyzed by OB and Neil, you'll go into the chat right now. You'll hit that exclamation point and you'll type in the word join, space, $, and vote for the tickers as you want to see them. If you like NVIDIA, vote for NVIDIA. If you want to see what's going on with Tesla, then type in Tesla. And if you want the Amazonians' opinion on Amazon, then you will type exclamation point join, $, AMZN. Adira, there is this thing in law where a specific word is very telling and influential. Shall, may, must, will, right? So there's always these words that you have to look at. So
that's interesting.
We want to give, we didn't want to give the option to the chat. We've got the Amazonian right here. Ask him about Amazon. What is he trading? So there he is right now. What's up, Ob? Get in your vote every day. Yeah, he wasn't happy about that. Shout out to the Ob. He is the one. He is Kenob. So shout out to him. So look, call it.
The auction quickly too.
Oh, go for it.
At 3-year note high yield lower than expected here, 3.8% versus estimates of 4.39%. So we had a bit of a pullback in some of these names, but a bit of a move up after.
I'm sorry, I gotta
look at Disney.
Disney is moving, guys. Here it is, Disney Plus from October 17th. Pricing for Disney Plus subscription with no ads will be $15.99 monthly and $159 annually. You need only, sorry, Fabian, I know. You need only look at the chart over here to know that the market like this. They want to see price increases, baby, because those expand margins. There we go, 92 touch. It's up on the day. Let me just load it up on the side over here. For whatever reason, it's not updating. Come on, Disney. There we go. 3.1% coming off, though, that 91.91 high a day. Let's see if it can hold this 10 exponential on the one that's around 90.50. Retracing a little bit right now, though, guys, but Disney in play up 3.25 a day.
Yeah, I mean, wow. I was just talking to Zach Griffith in the chat because he was saying, oh, just a reminder, NVO reports tomorrow, and it does. And you guys know I love talking about my weight loss stocks. So once I'm out of the SPY scalp, which, by the way, took the 528 retest there as a long. Basically, I said to him, it's funny, I was literally just thinking about Novo Nordisk when he said that because I was seeing people talk about Disney. DIS is the ticker for Disney, and DIS is also in the name Novo Nordisk. And they both report tomorrow morning. This SPY scalp, higher lows here, but we're going to get a little waffle. We're going to get out here at 20s if I can get 528 20s. But also, we're going to wait to see if we get filled here. I'm going to it's still on the books on my side chart, so we can keep eyes on that way. In addition to DIS, I do want to look at NVO because I did say I would. And I loved, we've also have Eli Lilly on Thursday. So it's a double punch if you like these weight loss related tickers. If you are a GLIP trader like myself, not to get too glip about it, but I like trading those GLP-1s. So interesting look there. Novo Nordisk, really strong out of earnings. Thank you, Zach Griffith, for mentioning this one. It is funny. I think sometimes great minds think alike because I literally was just thinking about Novo. Then I saw your message. I was like, ooh, confluence. But yeah, nice bounce here off that 129.10s. Wow. Bit of previous resistance here at 129.10. So I'm still looking at my SPY. I'm just going to scalp out of the SPY like flat here because I don't really like what we're doing. But as I wait to get filled on my SPY, because what are you doing, sir? I like this bounce here off that 129 area. I think that's a really nice little look here. And a bit of a flat top break at 130. What is this? 130.38, I think is a nice little flat top break. We did have, higher low here, nice bounce here of just below 130. Then we push even higher. So great look on, I'm just going to have to scalp out of the SPY here. Took a bit of a hit on that. Happy I got it where I did, though, because we broke below 80s. Took a 40 penny hit. But yeah, anyways, and then we break that flat top, right? Now we come to bounce off 130.20. So I think this is a good look. Let's look at Lils as well. Mademoiselle, who I haven't looked at in quite some time. Ahead of those earnings. Because theirs are on Thursdays, Novo's tomorrow. Lilly, nice higher highs, higher lows. Volume on Lilly, not bad either. 1.4 million shares. Lilly, why aren't you doing this when I used to trade you extensively? You're doing like way more volume now. Good for you. But nice little look here in Eli Lilly. We want bounce, then we don't look back. We chop, we churn. What did you do to Diz? Strobe 9. I don't know. Disney, yeah. I guess you mentioned Disney. We were talking about Disney, and then Disney kind of took a bit of a hit. To be fair, though, the SPY took a little bit of a drop there as well. If Disney, I don't think will come back. It would be quite the drop if we came back to retest just below 90s here. That was that previous area of rejection. I think that would be a nice look for DIS. I was saying to Sharif, though, this morning with regards to Lumen, I always find it a bit sus when companies release like news right before their earnings. Yeah. We had Netflix do that with the WWE collab the day of their earnings report, and that was the same day. This was in April for Q1, where they were like, oh, well, actually, we're not going to release sub numbers anymore. So that was a little sus. Then we have Lumen yesterday saying, oh, $5 billion extra in business. They report tonight.
Remember AMC as well?
AMC as well with the pre-earnings.
Yeah. I remember that.
I always find AMC tanked. So I always think it's really interesting to see, just to keep that in mind. Sometimes companies releasing news before their earnings can make you go, a little bit. That's just my take on that. Any news on Netflix? Could it be in sympathy with the Disney move?
Oh, that's actually a good call.
Let me take a look at what Netflix is doing. Thank you, Hog Rider, for mentioning this. Netflix still up, though. So I don't know what have you seen?
I'm looking right now. Here we go.
Nice move here,
Netflix is lowering ad prices to below $30. I don't know if that's new, Adara, or if that's an older headline. I'm looking to see if not, it came in before, whether or not, excuse me, it came in before. But here's a look. I mean, obviously, Netflix is printing up a storm off their ad tier because, well, they make a lot more money on that tier. The more you watch, the more they print. Obviously, it doesn't matter how much you watch with an unlimited plan. They're only getting that tariff off you. So that is the look there. But yeah, look, good look here. Netflix is further lowering the price of its ads, according to 3 ad buyers who talked to the streamer in July. This came in August 6th, not that long ago. Let me know if this is old. If you guys in the chat, Netflix will charge advertisers CPM's cost per 1,000 views between $20 and $30 for some of its ad inventory, the buyer said. Netflix will charge $20 for a 15-second ad slot and $25 for a 30-second ad slot, one buyer said. Okay, interesting. So we're not even getting this from Netflix itself. We're getting this from individuals who are buying from Netflix. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not that's the case. Now, I got stopped out of Apple. I lost about 10 pennies on this trade, and I'm still happy I took it. I'm still might get back into it. We're at 209. We're zigging and zagging. 209 was clearly a top earlier. You don't need to be a chartered market technician to see the umpteen amount of rejections at 209. So my theory is we're waiting. I'm possibly looking for it to act as support. I got stopped out, even though I had a nice decent amount between the entry price and the trigger price for the out. But right now, it looks as if we're putting in, you suck, Apple. I should have given you a bit more room. That's on me. We're zigging and zagging right now. Nice bottoming tail candle on AAPL as it does defend 209. So I did get shaken out of that trade. Yeah, well, look, man, I mean, I didn't know exactly where to put the stop. You kind of try to gauge it. Look at that. Go up 40 pennies. You suck, Apple. Yeah, I got forced out of that. That was the weekend there, but that's all good. You're never going to be always on top. But anyway, right now, Apple trying to defend that 209.20. That is the line in the sand from green to red. However, it was really 209 that we were rejecting off, and that's what I based my entry on. That's where we're bouncing off right now, generally with a wick into the 80s. And we'll see if this one can continue to move up or it's just a quick bounce off that level and then right back down again. We're having a whole lot of issues with 210. As you can see there, 209.99 is the high of day right now on AAPL. Great. Well, I shouldn't say great day. Obviously, it's still basically flat. So we'll see if this one can weasel its way a little bit higher. Taiwan Semi is doing some stuff right here, man. Taiwan Semi's up 5 2/3. So it's been very strong. It just put in a topping tail right now. I'm going to be waiting likely at this 155, 155.50. There's an area resistance area there from earlier. So we had lots of rejections at this 155 and a quarter, 155.50. We come back in. I want to take a trade off this area over here on Taiwan Semi. Nice move up. Basically got into that general 157 area, 156.91. Now it's coming into that 156 and a quarter area on TSM. Good look there. Let's see what else is moving. What's Apple up to? Yeah, zigging and zagging still. Not a whole lot happening at the $0.25. Looks like, yeah, Amazon's coming down. Looks like Tesla's coming down. They're all really printing, curling a little bit here as we reject off that 50-point area on the future. 18,449.5 is the high right now. So getting a bit of a pullback here on some of these Mag 7 names. Is this a buy the dip moment or are we going to reject here? We'll have to wait and see. To me, it's screaming a bit more buy the dip than anything else. We'll have to look at some of these names here and there.
If we're looking at the SPY, there's an interesting little range here between 527.60 with a bit of a dip into 527.50 and 527.90. So that means we do have a lower high. Last time we made 528. I tried to take the long at 528, didn't work out. I'm just trying to give my take here on the SPY because I appreciate your take on the NASDAQ there. But yeah, the SPY I think is kind of interesting here. If we break below that 527.50 decisively, because I think 527.60 is the level, but if we break 527.50, that is the only area where I would go short. There's another short I have my eye on though before we get to this lesson, and it's Palantir. I've been talking about that Palantir level, and I didn't take the short earlier, and I'm happy I didn't because I had multi-time frame confirmation. And I was like, it did not confirm anything. It was like, Adara, don't go short here. We're bouncing off the 90 MA. But let's take a look here. Now this is what I needed to see. Pushback time. We're below the 90 MA. Okay, kind of bouncing off the 15-minute here, but the 10-minute we're below the 90 MA. 30-minute also kind of bouncy, but yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely more confirmation from earlier. We also had this wick here into 27.19 on the 5-minute that I liked. You know what? I'm gonna start building a position here, and we'll see if I get filled during. We're gonna switch up one of these tapes here so I can look at PLTR. And I'm going to be doing the lesson. If we'll keep an eye on Palantir. I don't think I'm going to get filled. It looks like we're dropping a little bit, but we're going to have an order here at 11s for a decently sized position for my pal. For my Palantir. Oh my gosh, didn't even think of that. Didn't even think of that. Unplanned pun. But we'll see if I get filled. I do not think we're going to get 11s. But you know what we will get always?
What?
Is earnings.
True.
Or learning. Learning earnings. Earn learning.
I like it.
Learn earnings with us. So shout out to that, and also pretty apt because Palantir is an earnings name. So we're going to talk today about some important ways that earnings can impact stock price and the nuances of that impact. So earnings season can be a roller coaster. One moment you're screaming, whoo! Next minute you're screaming, oh. One moment the stock is soaring and the next is plummeting. Why is this the case? Well, it really does come down to earnings. Pre-earnings expectations are really important to keep in mind because investor sentiment is very heavily influenced by these expectations, and they're primarily shaped by analyst forecast and the guidance from the company itself. So internal, like the company, and then external, what analysts have to say. Also, sometimes you'll get analyst ratings and notes. They'll change their upgrades or they'll do upgrades or downgrades. They'll give notes on the stock ahead of earnings, so that can always be really interesting as well. Analyst forecasts can provide estimates of a company's expected earnings per share, their EPS, their revenue, and some other financial metrics. For example, with a company like Meta, and I like to use the example earlier, I'm going to use it with regards to this. Sometimes they'll give examples like Meta's ads, like, oh, we expect it to do more ads. They'll maybe accept Palantir to have more contracts, for example, right? Just some example of how there's nuances for these analyst expectations depending on the company. And these forecasts are watched by investors, but also watched by investors is company guidance. Because companies will often provide forward-looking statements and guidance about their expected performance. That can include revenue and earnings guidance. And this info can help set investor expectations. Consensus estimates are pretty key here as well. It's basically to be the average of analyst forecasts, and it serves as a benchmark for comparing actual results. Here's one example. Here's some analyst forecasts. It kind of shows you here on Apple. Shout out to Morningstar. This is a really huge one to use. Each kind of quarter, you can see the compare overvalued. Is it overvalued? Is it undervalued? They have the fair value as well and how that's comparing to the last close. So this can give you a bit of a look as to what analysts are looking at and what we might be looking at heading into each report. We also have the positive versus negative pre-announcement too. So looking at these EPS pre-announcements here and how they compare for different quarters. I think that's a really interesting look as well. How many companies have negative pre-announcements? How many have positive? And certainly a bit of a switch, a change in the tides, as Sharif might say, into this positive pre-announcements before switching for Q4 2021. It's a bit of an older graphic, but I think this can really show you kind of larger trends and how they come to be. Consensus estimates are worth noting as well here too. You can see the number of estimates, the high end of the estimate, the low end of the estimate, and what the average estimate is, and the change in the estimates over time. So 3 months ago, 4 weeks ago, the different ways that these analyst estimates have changed, and that can show you too. Has there been a bit of a change in how analysts are viewing these companies heading into it? I think that can be really key. So earnings surprises are worth noting here as well because they occur when a company's actual results deviate or are not exactly what the analysts were expecting. Eric, we'll talk about Uber. We can talk about Uber after the lesson. We're just going to get this lesson done, though, right now, because Uber is just continuing on its little trend. So we're going to finish the lesson, but we can totally look at Uber after, because Uber is an example of an earnings day. So positive surprise is one definite surprise you can have. That's when a company will beat analyst estimates, and it's typically viewed favorably by the market, and you'll often have the stock price rise significantly. That being said, it might not if the guidance is weak as well, right? So these earnings surprises, they're not always necessarily based solely on what you have in terms of the actual results. Let's also look at negative surprises, though. So this will be if you have, for example, we have EPS or revenue fall short of expectations. This can lead to a sharp decline in the price of the stock. And the magnitude of the surprise is worth noting as well. So that's going to be the extent to which a company will beat or miss estimates. And that can also influence the market reaction. If you have a massive miss, like zoom info today. That cannot be great. If you've got a big beat, that can be huge and that can be positive. Let's talk as well about revenue surprises, because the EPS is often the primary focus, but revenue surprises can impact stock prices because beating revenue estimates can reinforce that positive sentiment. We had the really good example earlier from Sharif with regards to Bezos and Amazon, where they were just beating on revenue and they were like not profitable, and Jeff was laughing his little bald head off. So good times with that. Post-earnings reaction, price reactions are super important to note here. So one example is a gap up. That's when you have a sharp increase in the stock price at the market open, usually following positive earnings or guidance, and it's often reflecting investor enthusiasm. Also, this is worth noting too, if you've got sympathy plays, that can be a role. Like you have for example, when we have earnings from TSM or ASML, these overseas chip names, a lot of the chips can gap up or gap down in response to that, depending on how they reported. So that's something to keep in mind as well. A gap down is worth noting too. That's when you've got a sharp decline in the stock's price. That will often follow negative earnings and indicate a little bit of disappointment from investors. They're shaking their head. They're tisking their fingers. They didn't like it. After hours trading is worth noting too, because earnings reports are often released after the market closes or before it opens. And so significant price movements can occur during this after hours or pre-market trading. The market sentiment, though, is really what you're looking for earnings report, because the overall market conditions can and will sometimes influence the post-earnings reaction that you get. So a positive market environment can amplify gains, and a negative market environment may exacerbate losses. Speaking of earnings, I am in Palantir. We'll see if we're in the Palantir on this. We'll wait. But there's other factors to keep an eye on here as well within earnings. So economic indicators can play a role in these reactions, because overall economic conditions, let's say we had great earnings from a company and then an economic report that the stocks didn't like. So that's something that can impact your reactions or overshadow those reactions. Industry trends are worth noting as well here, because the performance of a company's industry can influence investor expectations and the price of its stock. There's also a competitive landscape to be aware of, because the company's position can in fact affect its earnings and its stock price, also how it's viewed. So Palantir, definitely a competitive position in terms of AI contracts. You have Meta, again, to use that example with regards to ad space, compared to people like Pinterest, and Snapchat, right? So those are worth noting too. Unexpected events, too, that happen in the news or in the market as a whole can and sometimes will overshadow the results of the earnings and impact the price of this stock. So keep in mind, guys, these earnings reports are super powerful catalysts, and they can be, right? And especially if you have like things moving beyond the expected move, you've got crazy earnings, tons of surprises. But you have to understand the pre-earnings expectations and the concept of earnings surprises as well to understand the reaction to the earnings report. One thing, too, that Sharif alluded to that I wanted to talk about and forgot to mention earlier, Danielle Shea talks about this a lot, sometimes that pre-earnings move. For example, Micron, she was asked about Micron by Sean and I heading into earnings, and she said, well, it had such a big run up into earnings, we'll have to wait and see how it performs. And so sometimes how those stocks react heading into earnings can impact that reaction after the earnings. So that's our take on that.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Also, sorry, I just remembered too, I said I was going to look at Uber for someone.
Yeah, go for it.
Look at Uber, I apologize. Uber's on an uptrend. I'm sorry. I wish I had more to say on Uber, but it's in a really nice uptrend. Holding that 63.85s really well. Nice support there. Nice chop and turn here. Once we pop up that 64.20s, do we ever pop? Then we kind of popping again here off 64.40. Sorry, Eric Russo, I know you wanted to look at this. I don't have much to say except great chart. Right? Like it's just on an uptrend, just made new highs of day. I would just say if we make a lower low, that could be something worth noting. If we break, say, below that 64.40 area, maybe. But we're doing pretty well here on UBER. In the money on Palantir. I'm going to start adding and subtracting. Thank you. We'll see. I don't know. We can't break 27s. How are you doing?
Well, I did well here on NVIDIA. I did fat finger for the first time on the day. So, hey, maybe just one today. And I literally got bottom wick, and this was absolutely planned. I went to the bathroom, left this order to trigger. This was an area defend. Obvious area crest over here at 106 and change, 106.10. So I put my order at 05s or 15s, excuse me, literally got bottom wick, came back. And took out the entire position accidentally. But we're still heading higher. I don't think the trade is done here on NVIDIA. We still have about $1 and change from here to the high at day. We put in a doji candle or bottoming tail candle, bouncing off generally 106, which is a 20 exponential on the 5. And we made another 5-minute candle make a new high. That doesn't mean we're not going to zig and zag, obviously, as we did touch that high a day on the future 18,449. So we're going to have to break that, I would submit to you, for us to continue moving up on the Mag 7 names right now. And all that's great. Everything I just said is great. But the fact of the matter is, on most of these Mag 7 names, we're seeing now 4 red 5-minute candles. And you're seeing on the future 1, 2, 3, 4 currently. You're getting 3 on goggles. You've got 4 on Softy. You've got 5 on Meta. 3 out of 4 here on the soft one. 5 now on Apple and 4 on Tesla. So you feel like there is definitely some weakness coming into these Mag 7 names, or just a healthy pullback as we come and defend 18.4 here on the future. Okay, zigging and zagging. So a couple of bottoming tail candles dipped below 18.4, getting bought up though, a little bit below, a little bit above. Let's see how this resolves. Right now though, both the prints, both these candles right now on the future NQ September contract, still above the 10 exponential, not something that I typically use with the futures, but the point is to tell you that we're still mostly on an uptrend despite the 4 candle on the 5-minute chart pullback. While the market was pulling back and Apple rejected 210, it still was able to dance generally with that 209. So the reason I didn't punch into Apple here, even though we kept getting these bottoming tail candles, which typically means buyers are buying it up, is because none of these candles printed a high higher than the previous candle, than the subsequent candle. So even though these 3 candles right here, all bottoming tail, all being bought aggressively off that 208.75, 208.80, but none of them can actually print higher than its predecessor. This one did, and it's bamboozling you. So I'm going to pack my patience here as we come back a little bit later into the day. It's about 1:30. I don't want to do any stupid trades and give everything back. But right now I'm looking for something on the Mag 7 because they are in a full state of pullback. Now, the reason I'm not jumping into anything because I need to see how the future resolves. Are we going to hold 18.4? Are we going to break down below 18.4? Right now, this is a candle of indecision. Doji candle, a little bit above, a little bit below. So I'm going to let that cook. See exactly what we get of that on the other side. Taiwan Semi topping tail candle, OB, at 157, holding the 20 exponential. And look at the respect that TSM has had with the 20 exponential on the day. There has been no closing print south of the 20 exponential since 9:45 a.m. People loving up a storm on Taiwan Semiconductor today. And let me tell you, I've never bought this company, but I like this company. And we wouldn't be able to function right now without this company. They make 66% of the world's, the world's total of advanced chips. Compare that to Intel, which has 6%. Is huge. That's a huge difference. So Taiwan Semi is an absolute monster. Trying to hold 155 right now. Definitely dipped into that 155 in a fifth and then got bought up super quick. The question is, does it continue to trend higher? Where's my Taiwan Semi trading chart? There we go. So good look here on the Taiwan Semiconductor. So I can risk about 30 pennies here for another move up. So we're going long Taiwan Semi. I'm going to risk to about mid 40s. Low 30s or thereabouts. Let's see if we can get a nice bounce up on Taiwan Semi. Where am I long? 77s. All right, so we'll put some beak wetters out over here. We will get what we get, and we will not get upset. TSM 5.25 in the green, holding the 20 exponential, and looking to possibly pop up a little bit more over here on TSM. It's been a great day for them today, man. I mean, I don't think that they got anything specific news catalyst for them, but we saw some positive news catalyst for NVIDIA vis-a-vis SK Hynix. And I was telling the guys on the floor and Adara this story today. This story today. I literally messaged Alfred last night, and I'm going to read it. Here we go. Come on, print. All right, here we go. So, I've been trying to diversify my portfolio, everything like that. You guys know the drill. So I messaged Alfred. I'm like, separately, I'm thinking of getting South Korean data permissions. I want to buy SK Hynix. I can't read everything he said because he uses a lot of expletives.
He's pretty profane. I know you've said that.
Yeah, he loves to use expletives. Adara, he's potty mouth. Be careful. Korean stocks always look cheap. They have many of the same risks that the Chinese, Japanese, Taiwanese stocks have. They will be, if China goes to war with anyone, as Korea will be a target. Also, Korea will lose out to China in the long run, he says, but for a trade, it's a good idea. The point of why I wanted to get into SK Hynix is kind of why everybody loves Micron, high bandwidth memory. You're going to need that for all the AI chips that are being built out right now, whether you're buying GPUs or buying TPUs, which is the Google version of the AI chip. So I'm all about that life. And personally, I was looking more value because Micron's really priced well right now. SK Hynix, not really. And they're getting all the love from NVIDIA. So I was interested in that. All right, I printed here nicely here on TSM. This did come into 156s. I didn't wet my beak. And now we're back break even here at Fabian as we weasel a little bit above, a little bit below TSM 5 1/5 Adair.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get some orders ready here in Palantir because I want to add. Like, you know what?
Nice.
You said you're always mad as a trader. Right now I'm a little grumpy. I want to have more Palantir.
Oh.
No, I'm joking. I'm in the money on this. I am like 15-ish cents in the money on this. And I did have a bit of a larger position to start with. Like, again, nothing like crazy massive or anything larger for me. But I wanted to add, and the plan was initially to add about, so I got out like 40% of the position, and then I wanted to add extra, so I wanted to have an even larger position than what I started with. I wanted to add at that 2706 because that was a huge area of resistance support flip-flop from what I watched in the book. So that was the area I wanted to add. We got to 2705s. We never got to 2706. Dropped lower, didn't work out for my add. But if we do get to that 27, I have an add for part of the position. Then I'm going to add another smaller piece here at 2704. So my solution is if I can't get the level I want, I'm going to weasel my way in if I can. I don't mind my average going a little bit lower here because I feel good about this PLTR. We can break the 27. I've seen us break the 27. Now that I have a little bit more of the position, I'm going to get my next beak wetter set here. It's going to be around 92s. Why is it going to be around 92s? Let me tell you. I like this 92 level because you can even see with the line here. That was some pre-market resistance. It was a bit of resistance here earlier on that way up. Then it was a bit of resistance support flip when we had this little uptrend. So I like this level. Even if I can't get 2704s, I'm willing to add to this one. I'm actually okay with staying this for the rest of the midday. We've got a half an hour left until I see something distinctly different. And like I said, I'm risking, sorry, I'm borrowing Obi's frizz, but I think it's accurate. Like if I see anything getting into that 2720s that gives me the heaves, I'll get out. I'm risking like, I'll have to lower my stop too, right? As I add to the position, that's something to worth noting as well. But if there's any stocks you're having that you think it's worth noting, get in that chat. Exclamation point, join, space, $, whatever ticker you want to look at. Maybe it's Uber. I know I had Eric Russo wanting to talk about Uber in the chat. Maybe you want to look at Palantir. Maybe you want to look at the SPY. You want to hear about Shreve's trades there in Apple, Fill the Gapple, whatever stock it is, get involved, get in that chat and let us know because we want to look at it for you.
Bang.
I did have a trade here in the SPY that I'm a little bit grumpy at because I didn't trust myself on it, so I want to talk about it. So I got short the SPY with that 527.50 break, got short 527.41s, I think. It's like if I had just scalped this out into 30s when I realized we weren't breaking any lower, that would have been all fine and dandy. I didn't because I was like, oh, but like it can break lower again. We broke above 50s. I ended up losing about 20 pennies on this because I got out I think around low 60s, like 61. So all good there. Not my proudest moment. And like I said, I think the trading that I've had in the afternoon has been a little bit worse than the trading in the morning. I've talked about my afternoon trades and I've been trying to make those better. So that SPY scalp didn't work out, but it's all good. You just got to go back to the drawing board. I think spending less time looking at Tesla has helped as well. If there are still scalps available in Tesla, I want to take them, but that was not the play today. So sometimes you got to switch things up.
And if they hate?
Pardon?
And if they hate?
Yeah, if they hate.
Then let them hate.
If they hate, let
You
them
always say it and then switch a style up.
Oh, yeah,
Isn't that what you always say?
yeah. I think I'm clearly tired. They hate and let them hate. Watch
That's
the money
your line.
pile up.
Yeah.
That is. Well, it's also 50 cents in Kanye's.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's when I say a lot. So nice. Palantir, I'd love you to switch the style up, get me filled here at 2704 so then I can take some out at 95s as I wait for my 91 breakdown because I'll have a bit of a larger position here. This has been very different trading, some different styles. My more successful trades today, none of them have been scalps. So that's something for me to journal about. I had these AMD shorts here on the breakdown. I had the Crowdstrike as well with this uptrend, with that 230 resistance. The Crowdstrike is one I'm really upset I didn't look at more today because that continued to give you that uptrend. But it's all good, baby. Not every day is going to be a dream. Not every trade is going to be a dream. But you have to learn, you have to grow, and you have to work on it. Also, Microsoft 404. This is kind of a crazy support level.
Holy.
A little bit of a range here.
I didn't even have eyes on that.
Trader. How do you feel?
No,
about
that's
that?
a good call. Before I get to that, I just want to mention to Gullum, because he's asking people, SMCI does have earnings after the bell today. They will be reporting after the bell. Make sure to catch that with Adara and Neil on the market recap show. They're going to have all the news headlines for you for all the names we're reporting. We have Airbnb today too?
We do.
We do.
That's actually the stonks.com stock today.
That's right. So, guys, it's not an ad read, but let me tell you, stonks.com, you can make money literally for free. Go and bet right now on the earnings report for Airbnb, stonks.com. Absolutely, I can do the campus read, Fabian. Whatever you request shall be granted, always. Let me just load up said, where is my, oh, okay. Well, maybe we can just send it to Adair for a second while I load it up.
Yeah, I just want to, I was just about to type to Saad Mahmoud in the chat, but I'll say it out loud. So shout out to Saad Mahmoud saying, I think you could put a home run cover at that blue line below, which I think is here is VWAP. And I don't disagree here for the Palantir that it's about 26.65. There was clearly some support and resistance here earlier as well. But for my trading style, just the way I am, I think I would panic if I held that much of the position for that long. So I'm going to continue to piece in and out. I appreciate that though, Saad. And I think I'm not going to stay in the trade past the midday, but if there is, a piece for the dream to be saved, I would like to save it. But you know what? We like to learn as well through how to trade, and there's also another way you can learn.
Absolutely. The best prop floor around, baby. Hey there, Canadian traders, are you ready to get back to basics and become a real trader? Well, Real Trading's campus program is now on. Our specialized learning experience is here to guide you through the essentials of trading. You'll learn about market microstructure, explore various marketplaces, and understand the different order types. This upcoming cohort will focus on U.S. equities, starting with a carefully selected stock list designed for optimal learning. No high flyers here, baby. As you demonstrate your skills, you'll unlock expanded symbol availability. Join us to bridge the gap between professional execution and retail trading. Let's build your trading foundation together. I gotta tell you, I love that idea, Like to basically kind of work you in to the more volatile names. You don't want to be starting with high flyers. Who would do that? I don't know anybody who learned trading small caps. I don't know anything about that, Obi. Yeah, exactly. Neil says, what's wrong with that? I know you traded penny stocks when you started. I know that. I know Neil's, he's told me the story. So shout out to Campus Trading or Real Trading, the campus program. Obviously, they are the prop floor that we work on right here. And let me tell you, just separately here, as a day trading company, they are aces. I've said this many times on my brokerage, especially with these small cap gappers, I can't get shorts for the life of me. While here at Real Trading, not only sometimes can I get them free, but they're like negligibly priced. Okay, I'm talking maybe like 15 pennies, 10 pennies for 100 shares. So it's fantastic setup. If you're in Canada, you're in the Toronto area, or if you're in Canada, period, because it's remote. So make sure to join us today. There's the QR code right there on your screen. It says scan me, Adair. I mean, I don't think people can really screw this one up. All right, 500 level in here again right now on META. Say that again. You'd be surprised.
Made me laugh.
Yeah, I know, right? 500 in at on Meta again, guys, and we're zigging and zagging. We're holding the 20 exponential on the 5. We're making definitely lower highs and trying to hold this 500 area. So I'm not going to be quick to jump into this level on Meta, but this is an important level we've been zigging and zagging with all day. I want to see if we give way at the 20. If we really give way to this yellow line here, this could be an interesting short on Meta. We know that the 500 has been one of those recycled levels lately. We've been interacting with it a lot. It's not like novel or anything like that. We gave way to the 500 when we had that weak earnings report in the spring. Then we reclaimed it when we had that solid earnings report, I think like 2 weeks ago. And now we're zigging and zagging with this.
Last week. Time flies.
Last week. Sure. Wow, Adair. I mean, it does. Time does fly. So last week, Meta obviously beat big. We'll see if this 500 area holds. I'm not inclined to put a 500 order, but I could realistically put a 50 penny risk over here and give it to the $0.50, as none of these 3 5-minute candles here has touched the $0.50. In fact, they've all respected the 20 quite well. Decisions. What are you guys looking at? Easy Trader, Adara, Sharif, SERV. Let's have a look quickly at SERV. Yes, it's holding that top. Fantastic. So it holds that general 16 1/3, 16 1/4 area that we talked about. Now it's breaking through 17 1/3 and taking out this local area high candle that we put in at 1250, but not by much. So let's see if this one can continue. 1779 HOD. Pretty Panda, what's your record at the bowling alley? Yes, it's a reference to your shirt, which is black. I'm channeling my inner Charlie Harper today, baby. Anybody who watched 2.5 Men, all he wears is bowling shirts. He can't age gracefully. Neither can I. So I'm going to start wearing them now. No, I wear usually golf shirts today. You know, I'm going to wear this bowling shirt. But bowling shirts need to be button up, right? Like they can't be zip ups. I've never seen a zip-up bowling shirt. Correct me if I'm wrong, chap, but usually, well, the ones Charlie Harper wore in 2.5 Men were always button-up as well. So, yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah, I know, it's funny. Name the gain. It says Intel is moving. Let's load up Intel again. We were talking about this one holding on to the break-even point on the day, INTC. Let's see what this one's doing right now. So it really couldn't hold on to it, at least not for that long. Gets up into that 2.25. Now we're getting right back into 20 again on INTC. It's below VWAP. It's below the closing print from yesterday, which is $20.11. But it's at that key area of technical, possibly technical support here, even though we definitely were trading below that area. I don't know, man. I think 20 might end up turning into 30. Like that 30 was on Intel. How long did we hold that $30 area? Here it is, in case you're wondering. Yes, from essentially April 29th to July 5th, we held 30, and that was a hell of a range there, $2 range for the better part of 4 or 5 months. We break above that, then we break back down. So I'd like to see if $20 ends up being kind of the similar thing here that we had on $30 on INTC. Right now, obviously don't have much data to work with. We have a couple of days at this level, but so far somebody's buying it up in the high 19s a day.
Yeah, and I mean, if there's any stocks you're looking at, because we know both Obi and Neil were trading Intel, so if you want to know what they did on Intel or any other stocks, you guys only have 12 minutes left to vote. Go in the chat, go ! Join space, $, whatever ticker you want, ! So shift 1, join, space, shift 4, whatever ticker you want. Shout out to Sharif, who used to be giving the computer instructions for that. But definitely give that a look. I am still in Palantir, and I am really happy with how this has been going. But I would like Palantir to just, not bounce off 80s, maybe. 80s wasn't even a level I had for Palantir. I actually had the more specific level of 77s because that was, to me, a bit of a support resistance flip-flop level. I had my order at 75s, like, 2 cents, a little greedy, I guess. But we didn't even get there. We bounced off 81s. If we can't break below 80s, I'll take the rest out here at like 82s. And then I will see if that pays for the dream. I want to shout out Saad in the chat for saying VWAP would be kind of feasible here. And I agree that VWAP, getting some out at VWAP would be feasible because we did clearly have a little bit of support there. Could flip to resistance, and we're now about like 20 pennies away from that level. I am very happy I waited for this trade because I want to take the short at the same level I took the short, but way earlier. Did that multi-time frame confirmation, was like, hey, maybe not. Then did it again when we got to this level again. And it worked out. And I think to answer that question, I believe it was JJ in the chat saying, how do you get more confidence in the trades? I do think multi-time frame confirmation is huge. I think trading alongside the futures is huge as well. With Palantir, though, it's been kind of less effective because Palantir and the SPY are kind of on their own trajectories. Palantir is an earnings name. It's been mostly just doing its thing 21 as the SPY does its thing 21 to the upside. But earlier when I was trading AMD and Crowdstrike and a long and a short, short and a long respectively, so short AMD, long Crowdstrike, watching what the future was doing in those little moments, because I am a bit more of a short-term trader, was huge because it would help give you some confidence and some confidence. And because both those names are, S&P and the Qs, I was able to look for those, for the NQ names to kind of take a look and see what we do here. With Palantir, as much as I would love to hold through my VWAP break. This is already longer than I hold things for the most part. And we're at that 2690 area, which was a bit of an area of, I mentioned this, a little bit of resistance support flips earlier. If we keep bouncing here with these bottoming tail candles off 90, I'm gonna have to do some multi-time frame confirmation, but I might get everything out here. I wouldn't be disappointed. I'm really happy I stuck with this trade. And like I said, I think it's interesting that if not for P&L, because like I said, not checking my P&L, in terms of process, my best trades today have not been scalps. I still am really happy and grateful for the time I spent scalping. I'm still open to scalping, but I think this is key that sometimes you can use these strategies and adopt them. Flip the style up, and if they hate, let them hate. and watch the money pile up, though this money is not very much, but that's how you grow, that's how you learn, that's how you expand. I don't get to say please this punch again, but please just, well, I will. Please this punch. Join Lucid says, Tommy, yeah,
that
I
hair
do a really
flip
good...
too while you said please this punch, and like you're like defining yourself,
right?
your own rules.
Like, yeah, I will be please this punch.
Love it.
Lucid, actually, like, it was interesting too, because when I had that challenge, which again, I want to shout out Terra Engineering for that challenge for me to not say puns or, yeah, I will say what was harder, it wasn't the not saying puns, it was the not saying please this punch.
Really?
I felt like I was holding myself in, and then my trading got kind of bad too that day. So it's interesting, right? Lucid, nice little bottom recovery. I like that we're coming into this $3.10 area. As we make a bit of a curl, I think what we do here around this little chop and churn area, 315s, could certainly be of interest. It's also kind of in confluence with you all. We'll keep an eye on that. I'm still watching Palantir, not adding into this. Someone, I think it was Airsoft in the chat, was like, don't add to Palantir. I'm like, yeah, we're way past the point where I would be adding to this. We're just going to see if we can continue breaking down. If we really can't get any lower here from 2690s after doing my confirmation checks, I'll get out here and I'll be okay with it. So good times there. You got to adapt. You got to be willing, as shout out to Michael Scott from The Office, as played by Steve Carell, adapt, react, readapt, act. See what the market's giving you. Look at the balance of the evidence and make your verdict. TraderTV live, 1:42 p.m. Toronto, Ontario.
Is that how it starts?
Well,
I've never seen
right?
it. Okay,
so
okay.
They have the sound, and at the same time as the sound, they'll have like a black screen. It'll say the location, the time, where they are,
I do remember
the date.
this.
But I don't have a black screen, so that's why I said it.
That's okay.
How are you doing?
Can we get her a black screen? For
No,
you?
I'm joking. We don't need to do that.
Okay, that's all.
I was totally just.
All right, I'm long on goggles. Maybe not for long over here. What happened to my stop? Why is my stop not triggering? All right, so we'll see if this can pop back up. But I'm going to get out here because goggles is going negatory on the day. Let's see if we can get a little quick bounce. This level here on Google, I was trying to get for the defend of the yesterday's closing print right at the 159 and a quarter. So we're holding 36s. Let's go 159.09, and then we're going to basically get out the entire position if it gives up that level. So this was supposed to trigger at the break of 30. It didn't. And so let's see if this can get a hold up at this level here. We're not giving way at the future, and that's kind of what's keeping me involved in this trade. Right now. Big Spile Burdette, my man. Only 10 more points on ES to close the gap from Friday's low. I'm very skeptical, more so than my usual skeptical self. Shout out to Big Spile. Look, Big Spile, I think you have the right idea, and you know I'm going to join your camp over here, where I'm a little bit suspicious of this market rebound. I don't know. I had a bias that I think we zig and zag maybe until the election. We have some good weeks, we have some bad, we give up some. So that's just kind of how I see things, but we'll have to wait and see what the actual market gives us. Now, I'm a little concerned because we might break 18.4 here. And if we break 18.4, then I want nothing to do with this trade on Google. I'm long 30s. We're printing 31, so I can get out here, break even. But we're right back above that 18.4 again. Again, I was holding this level on Google, 159.26 as an area defend. It is yesterday's closing print, but it doesn't look like it's really bouncing off with any aggression in the same way that my dip trade on NVIDIA did. I came back and it had triggered literally bottom wick, and I was like 60 pennies in the money, but then I fumbled the key. So I think right now what's happening on Google is we're likely going to break this level over here and get stopped out. So we'll just basically pack our patience to see exactly what manifests. If we break that 10 penny level, that's the end of the trade there. I see you guys yelling about Lumen. I see it. LUMN, the number one gapper on the day, 88%. Let me load it up here on the side chart. It's not moving as aggressively as it was earlier. In fact, we still haven't even gotten to that 518 HOD. In fact, we can't even get above 5 quite yet. We've been holding nicely here. A nice upward channel from the high side, predictable lows there, mostly off the 20 exponential to the low side. So good look for LUMN. This one started moving, as we mentioned earlier, really in the aftermarket there as they kind of front ran their earnings and basically told us about what was it again? LUMN?
UMN. Oh, it was they get $5 billion in contracts with another $7 billion possible in sales.
That's it. Thank you, Adara. And so they front ran that, not waiting for the earnings report to tell us about that. And well, yeah, that's why it's up big, 89%. And it also started moving in the aftermarket yesterday. So I do get stopped out of Google there. It does break 159.10. It's trying to hold 159 here. I'm not going to be quick to jump in to that 159 level, but I should have been more alive to the fact that there was umpteen amount of bottoming tail candles at 159 before I placed my stop there. That's a mistake on my part. We'll see if the market can reclaim 18.4. It's below it right now. It's zigging and zagging a little bit. We'll see if it can get right back up there, but get stopped out on goggles.
Yes, you know, I'm going to take the rest of the Palantir out here, like 20 pennies in the money. Really small remainder of the position. I think we could still break lower. We could, and I could have still waited for view up. I do want to shout out Saad Mahmood for that call because I think that was a good look. But what I saw in the book was he kept bouncing off 26.77s. That was enough to me, another really clear level where we had some support resistance flip-flops. Cut out of the last larger chunk of the position, the remaining 66% of the position there, kept the remaining third. And I was actually considering adding to that remaining third as we got back to 26.90, which was a huge level of support resistance for me. But I didn't. And that's because I find I make just some of the weirdest decisions when I hold like a really small piece of the position and then decide to add all willy-nilly. I remember once I was in an IWM trade. It was 90 pennies in the money. It was going great. Had a really small position. I was like, oh, let's add. Don't do that. I added, it went against me. That's why I think like when I have these smaller positions, I just be like, Adara, breathe, think it's still a position. It's still a trade. It's in the money. Take it for what it is. So happy with what I did with P to the L to the T to the R. Freddie, the friendly guy, I was just saying just a quick thank you. Thank you for being here. It's the top in for the day, TQQ, SOXL, SPY. Still holding the short on SOSX and SQQQ. So yeah, shout out to you, Freddie, the friendly guy 2.0. Apparently it is still him from Freddie, the friendly guy, just on a different account. So, okay, SOXL I'll look at first. I have some opinions, I think, most on SOXL, but I'll look at everything you mentioned there. Also happy I got out of Palantir when I did because it's coming back to 27s or near 27s. So SOXL was one that I had eyes on. I said this in the chat earlier. I thought it looked kind of similar to the SPY at the time, and I'm going to see if they still kind of have that. Sort of, yeah. And I remember I said this in the chat in the morning, and Farm Trader was like, oh, it's because, you know, like the chips are basically the market, which is a fair point. But it was just interesting. I'd never really seen them mirror each other in that way. I would say maybe, but the other thing I'm seeing here is Freddie, the friendly guy, is that we have a bit of potentially a bull flag on SOXL, and I think we're getting a bull flag from a pretty key area of resistance. Look at this 29.80. We rejected it a couple times here, once in the pre-market, then again here around 10.35. Then we come up, we bounce off view up, we curl higher, then we shoot up like a rocket. Now we're seeing a bit of a consolidation bouncing off the 90 MA. I would say if we break decisively below this 30-20 area, maybe that'd be a bit of weakness in the SOXL, but right now I'm still seeing a potential for a bull flag. SPY to me looks, I would say looks a bit weaker, but we do have a bit of a bottoming tail here on the SPY. And again, much like SOXL, we're seeing it kind of pop out of some previous resistance. So I would just be aware of the fact that both of these could have some potentials for consolidations higher for the SOXL and the S&P 500. That's just my take on this. I'll look at the Qs though too, because I know shout out to Refrain for his awesome views on the Q views. Also, guys, you have 1 minute left to vote. I look at the SPY more though, and that's what I think, you know, balances us out. You're more of a NASDAQ person. I'm more of a SPY person.
True.
But whatever future you're, that's actually, I never thought of that. Whatever future you're looking at though, exclamation point, join space, $, whatever ticker you're fancy. For me, the Qs look a little bit weaker. I'm seeing a little bit more lower highs, lower lows than what I'm seeing in SOXL, which is a bit more pennant-y. Same with the SPY. But that being said, still bottoming tail candles and still bouncing off previous resistance. Things that I would like to be aware of. But yeah, apparently GME moving with a purpose to the upside, says Forex AU. I looked at this one earlier. There wasn't much volume. Someone was like, why aren't we trading it? And I was like, I don't know. This, though, we're past that 21 level, which I said would do something for me. Oh, okay, this is what I like to see in a GME. I wouldn't trade it, but I like it, just because it's not my type of stock.
Fair.
Unless it's a short, within reason. But look, I said that 21 level could be spicy. 21 was spicy. We bounced here off view up, which is also a bit of rejection support flip at 2080. If I could push back my chair again, I would, but it's at the back. Then we pop even higher here into 2120s. I would like to see what we do with that 2130 area and then 2145, basically any area we encountered previous resistance. Thank you for, I appreciate that you like my odd little sense of humor.
They're funny because you just drop it like it's nothing, like it just mid-sentence. Shout out to Adara, great sense of humor.
Shout out to you.
Guys, I took a nice little trade there on Apple. I was able to take 40 pennies super quick. There's a nice area defend over here, 208.40 for whatever reason on the day is an interesting area here on, or is a support level on Apple. Look at all the bottoming tail candles essentially from 1155, and we're still doing it to 150 right now. This area 208.5, 208.40. Every time we come down into that area, we're being bought up. So I was like, okay, let me just give it a try. Got in, got out there at 80s. I'm very happy with this trade. I'm also very upset about the Google trade. Let me show you exactly why. Right idea, poor execution. Literally got stopped out bottom wick. I had the right idea to defend the 159.25 area. That is the closing print from the day prior, but I wasn't alive enough to the fact that 159 itself was acting as a local area of support, and that should have definitely influenced my stop placement. Because seeing this ex post facto after the fact, right here, that we bounced off 159er at 1225, then again at 1237, and then obviously for the third time over here at 146, should have had me placing my order, my stop loss order below 159. There's no point in just placing my stop willy-nilly, in the middle of a range, because you're likely going to get stopped out. But again, I wasn't alive to the 159 support. That's a charting error on my part. There does seem to be local area of resistance for whatever reason at the 50, 60 penny area. I'm talking about goggles. When you look up here, umpteen amount of 1 minute candle topping tails into 159.60. We also had issues with it earlier, despite the fact that we got into 70s, and then even looking back again, these topping tails here that breach 50, they kind of worked their way up into 60. So for whatever reason on the day, that 159.60 at least is a local area of resistance on GOOGL. What I'm seeing right now is a little bit of a different tune here being sung by some of these Mag 7 names. For example, you can see Apple here clearly has a downtrend. So does Microsoft. So does Google. That's not so, though, for NVIDIA or Tesla or Amazon or Meta. They're all really a little bit different. So some of these Mag 7 names are looking a little distinctly different here than some of the other names or the futures in general. Shout out to the OB, the one. He is the Kenobi. He'll be on in about 7 minutes here. So I would say if you're looking long, maybe for the moment, Apple, Microsoft, and goggles are not the ones for you. NVIDIA seems very directional, about 50 pennies off the high of day. Likewise with Tesla, about 50 pennies off its high of day. And we're only 20 pennies off the high of day on AMZN. Sadly for Meta, even though it looks, no, we're only about $1 off the high of day right now on MET. It's a $500 name, so that should kind of give you a little bit of an indication of how close we are. Great look for both of these. I should also mention that even though Microsoft, I kind of talked about it being in a bit of a downtrend, for whatever reason on the day, and you don't have to figure out why, but there is a bunch of respect between the 50 exponential today, not one that I typically use on the 5 minute, the 50 exponential and Microsoft. We got that area defend, double bottom, 1125, 1130, and that was at the 50 exponential. And look at how many candles over here, starting from 120, going to the current candle, are all bouncing off that 50 exponential. So we'll have to wait and see whether that continues to feature. The reason I was mentioning this, because these bottoming tail candles makes me feel like buyers are buying it up. Then I look at the north side, and we have topping tail candles on the other side of that. So maybe they're not buying it up all that much, or there's an equilibrium between them at the moment, which means we don't ascend or descend for the moment. So right now, below 404, above 403.5 though. MSFT up decently, 2 1/5 on the day, but still well off the highs of there.
Yeah, so we had, I tried to take a bit of an NVIDIA short there. I'm happy I tried it, but I've been noting myself because I didn't listen to the cues, not to the TQs, although I also didn't listen to those. Accidental pun. I didn't listen to what the book was telling me, and I also wasn't paying enough attention to the TQs. I got short here, took a 20 penny hit. I got not a huge position, but I got short here because we were below the 90 MA and NVIDIA. I checked confirmation, and they said, like, we were at 106.69s when I was looking. We kept rejecting 70s. I was like, cool. Then I checked the 10 minute, and I say, at one point in the 10 minute, are we going to be like breaking below the 90 MA? That's when we see a little bit of weakness, right? Because that was the level I was using. We were breaking lower. So we get to 106.50s, we break below. I'm like, okay, cool. If we come back to 59s, I could take the short risk into 69s because I know that 69 was a level of resistance. So I get short, and I want to shout out, someone in the chat was asking last week, like, you know, could you ever do a lesson on how you read the book and how you use your support and resistance? Because I talk about the order book a lot. Well, I love giving live examples. So what happened basically with me for this NVIDIA, why I should have known better was, so I get involved 106.59s. We immediately pop up to 106.60s. And we're seeing rejections here of every time we get to the ask side of the sell side here, 106.69s, we reject, but we're seeing higher lows on the bid. Like, for example, our low will be 61s, they'll be 65s, 66. I should have known better. I should have taken like the 5-cent hit. I should have just gotten out there. Instead, we ended up popping higher. I get out around 79, so took a 20-cent hit. Not proud of the execution on this because the book was telling me I do not know better than the order book. I do not know better than the market at large, right? So that's one really huge thing to remember. Sometimes you need to take these little L's so you can, you know, as 21-7 says, take less L's, make more M's. Those are the times where you have to really come back, hunker down and be like, hey, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? And how do I do better? SPY fake dump, LOL says day trader cut. Yeah, the SPY continuing to push. I think we're at high of day here for the SPY. That little spider pushing a little bit higher here, creepy crawlies, all 8 legs pushing to the upside here. I think given how much support we had here at like 527.50s with these higher lows, I think if we break out here, that'd be a great look for the SPY. Cube's looking slightly similar. Sox L looking higher as well. You know, I said earlier today, I think it was Freddie, the friendly guy, what do I think? And I said, I think we're in a position where we could push higher in these indices. And it looks like we are seeing that right now. But yeah, basically trust your instincts and know yourself. Shout out to Drake. Is my lesson always.
Amazing. All right, guys, I'm going to weasel off to the green screen. I hope everybody has a fantastic rest of the day trading. Keep your eye on 18,450. We're knocking on the door. It's been a resistance level all day, up 2 1/3 right now on the NQ September contracted there. What a recovery from the lows that we saw this morning.
What a recovery indeed. Thank you so much, Sharif. There also, we're both in blue. We're the Blues Brothers today, I guess. Thank you for everything you do.
You're in a regular shirt. I'm in a bowling shirt apparently, so it's all good.
Why not? Why not? Shout out to that. Thank you again for everything you do. And we will see him at the green screen gesticulating wildly to the tickers that you picked. But yeah, so SPY here trying to hold on to 528. I'm not taking any more trades unless something like screams at me, but I don't think it will. I think one of the biggest things I learned today was just, you know, I know this is going to be shocking. I'm being as sarcastic as I can muster right now. Sometimes when you have levels on a thing and you wait, those are the better trades. I know that sounds really sarcastic, you know, really simple, but sometimes you have to have those experiences, take those reps to really learn that. Crowdstrike, and I'm honestly upset I didn't keep looking at this. Crowdstrike had those levels. It gave you those ranges. When that hit, it hit nicely. Same with AMD, right? I had levels on it. I like that short. Even this flip of the short, when I tried to go long, should have been keeping a better eye on that as well, right? But basically the lesson is I'm still okay taking some scalps. Some of these scalps work out. Most of them didn't, but it's interesting. Not looking at my P&L during the show, but looking now, the 2 names I was down on are the 2 names I was scalping. So I think that shows like maybe you got to have a bit of a change in the tide in your strategy, figure things out, work on new things. And yeah, happy to do some aggressive journaling tonight, but in a good way to learn what worked and how to make it work further. Bears versus Bulls, thank you for everything you do. I hope you guys had such a fun time here in the chat, but it is most indeed not over. We're going to have Obi with the Obi Confidence there and Neil with his Neilage shedding some light on some stocks for you guys. And we're going to start with the 5 tickers that you all voted for. So hope you guys have a great day with lots of confidence, lots of joy, and some awesome trades. And if not trades, hopefully we all learn something together. But right now, we're going to learn something with Sharif in the green screen. See you guys tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel. Lego.
Welcome to the Afternoon Rundown, the show where you decide what we talk about every day. Neil and Sean, or an Obi, I was about to say Sean, are locked and loaded. No, Sean's enjoying his time in London. They're ready to look at the tickers as decided by you, so make sure to join Adair and I